Hey, Orc, can you hear me now? What's up, Invictus Rage? Great, great. Yeah, my mic got unplugged. It was probably my cat, to be honest. By the way, I actually have a little guest here this week. This is Ariel. We're hoping to open her in this draft. She's a very powerful knight. What's up, Spiffy? How's it going, Ixo, FP Geek? Thanks to everybody who still tunes in while it's only once a week for now. I appreciate it. Still promise that's not like an official plan or anything. Thank you, Ixo. Really appreciate the resubscription. One of the many kitties, but only two of my kitties are named after Dominaria cards. It's because, for those who haven't heard me tell this, it's 100% true. Me and Rachel adopted them the same Sunday as the Dominaria pre-release. We literally went to a pet store, adopted them, brought them home, like, gave them food and stuff, you know, like, and then played a Dominaria pre-release that day, and I think her sister watched them. And, so literally, we named them Ariel and Lyra after the Dominaria cards. Okay, so anyways, this is a Dominaria draft, one of my favorite formats, my favorite in like 10 years. Let's see what's here. Daring Archaeologist is good. It's not as good as it looks like it would be. There's not that many good artifacts, but like it's still a good card. Like, you know, and also just big generic creatures are not nearly as good in this format as in most others. Garna's good. 2 colors, Sprout Storm. Don't have a lot of time. I generally like Llanowar Elf as the best green I think Blessed Light, because it's splashable, makes more sense than Archaeologist. But I'm not really sure. I think it's super close. I think Archaeologist would be better in some decks, but I like tossing Blessed Light into basically any deck in this format, because it's really easy to do light splashes. I take Skittering Surveyor really, really highly, and then you just throw one land in because it's a try. Okay, so let's see. Shivan Fire is probably the best common in the set, like, once you have colors. Like, pick one, pack one for me in the set. Skittering Surveyor is the best common in the set, because it just unlocks splashes and lets you do so much. But once I'm red already, I'm pretty much never going to take Skittering Surveyor over Shivan Fire. Shivan Fire is good removal in the late game with the kicker, good removal in the early game. That said, there's some cards in this pack that I think are pretty close to it. Not the white ones, I wouldn't consider those. But, like, Grunt is a really powerful win con. Soothsayer can be quite good in Thalids, but those are way more specific cards. I actually think Juggernaut's kind of overrated. I don't think it's great. So I think there's a pretty clear Shivan Fire. Ironically, red-white is like the aggro deck of this format, and I don't really like aggro very much. But, you know, we'll see what's there. Also, like I said, Blessed Light and Shivan Fire are both single red and single white. Shivan Fire's, you don't have to pay another red in the kicker or anything, so they're both super splashable, good late-game quality removal. So we can still pretty much draft anything. I would describe this draft so far as a draft where we basically have 2 first-pickable, splashable removal, and, like, we don't care if we play them or not, and we are just wide open, obviously. We're not attached to these cards. Okay, in this pack, Gitu Chronicler is probably the best card in the pack overall. The only thing that could make it close is if I knew we were going to end up a red-white aggro deck, I would take Mesa Unicorn over Gitu Chronicler in that deck. But if we end up red anything else at all, Gitu Chronicler is way better. And like I said, light splashable. I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll just end up drafting a good Wizards deck or something. And like, Mesa Unicorn's fine, but it's a lot worse than Gitu Chronicler in most red decks. Wow, well, if I knew I was going to get a 4th pick Danitha, maybe I would have took that Mesa Unicorn. Now, I don't really love these white-red aggro in this format, but, I mean, it's definitely open. That said, this was probably a pretty good pack, because Academy Journey Mage 4th, that's, I mean, it's not as good as Danitha, but then there's also a Syncopate. I'm not 100% sure what I should take here. I think it's between Danitha and Journey Mage. I think Danitha's better than Journey Mage, and it looks weird because we have a white card and not a blue one, but I also think Wizards is a really good archetype and Red-White's a really bad archetype, and my red and white cards aren't especially aggressive. I should probably still take Danitha, though, right? Like, it's just so good. And I did just pass a Mesa Unicorn, so it does look like I'm seeing white, hopefully, if I'm getting a 4th pick Danitha. Okay, so let's see. So, Fire Intervention's fine. I'm higher on it than, like, kind of the anti-Fire Intervention crowd. It was kind of a thing that became, like, this kind of, like, polarizing topic, around, like, actually. But, I mean, it's not, like, a great card. I mean, Shivan Fire's better, so, I mean, you know, at best, it's your second best common red removal. And, like, if you go deep and draw a lot of cards and you have Shivan Fires, and Chronicler could easily be better, because it's just getting back Shivan Fires and stuff. Alright, anyways, though, for red-white aggro, I think we want Deviant Trapper. We're more committed to white, I think, than red at this point. And, like, Trapper's pretty good in these decks. Although that is a late intervention, so I guess we're seeing like red, white, and blue. So the people who draft, probably the people passing us are probably Sapperlings, which is like a black green deck, or they're drafting like black blue control and stuff like that. But I think like maybe red, white. I think Wizards is open, and I think red and white are both relatively open as well. But hard to tell, of course, this early. So I mean, like I said, our deck is not aggressive. Gideon's Reproach, I mean, look, I mean, if you need to attack and hit a blocker with that, you can. It's obviously better to hit an attacker, because if they blocked your creature, they're not going to take damage from it unless it has trample. But, I mean, maybe we'll draft like a red-white grindy mid-range control deck or something. I mean, that's not something I remember drafting very often in this format, but we have great removal. Like, right now we have Blessed Light, Gideon's Reproach, Shivan Fire, and then Chronicler is like card advantage removal. And then so I mean, like, basically, like, Trapper's an aggro card, but it's not like it can't block. Like, I don't even know where this draft's going. This is not an arc. Like, I actually covered archetypes for Dominaria. If you Google them on CFB, you'll see I wrote like 4 or 5 of the main archetypes, how to draft them. Like, black-white is supposed to be like a historic grindy deck. Like, red-white is, I guess, supposed to be aggro. I pretty much never draft this. Oh, blue-red is a lot better than white-red, yeah. But we're clearly seeing a lot more white than blue. I mean, there's, look at our cards. Anyway, so Short Sword, not great, but if we get, like, Valduk or things like that, certainly playable. Pick up a 2-drop. I don't think we're picking up over anything in any color, basically. Like, none of these cards are exciting. I really don't like to play 1-toughness creatures in this format, like Knight of Dominaria. Fungal Infection punishes them really severely. Like, there are some formats where 1-toughness creatures get punished and some where they don't. This is one where they definitely do. But if you end up playing stuff like Short Sword, that makes it a lot better. There's also a lot of 1/3s in this format, because you have the cycles, like the Get-To Chronicler and the Skin Witch, and then Vidalian Arcanist, another playable 1/3. Oh, wow. Okay, well, Daring Archaeologist, like I said, it's a good card. I mean, it looks better than it is, for those of you who didn't play a lot of Dominaria, but at the same time, you can draft a candle, you can draft an artifact creature, and then it's like a 4-mana 4/4. Like, obviously it's 4-mana 3 turns into play, you can cast more than one historic spell over a long game, so it's like a 4-mana 4/4 to me. 4-mana 4/4 with a little bit of upside. Like, this is, like, not a card that should table. This is a card that, like I said, looks a lot better than it is. This isn't like some bomb rare. I took Blessed Light over at Pick 1, Pack 1. But this is not a card that should table. So I guess we're just committed to white. I mean, Get-To Chronicler and Shivan Fire are both good cards, but from what I can see now, I mean, white is wide open. We're probably the only white drafter in the entire table, which is not as crazy as it sounds. I think white is the weakest of the 5 colors in this format by a somewhat substantial margin. But this isn't a, like, you can't play white format or something. Like, the white cards are fine. It's just the weakest of the 5. Just gonna have to figure out what to pair it with. Maybe we can put together, like, I haven't chose Boros yet, LSV. I haven't chose Boros yet. Like, I think we're about equally likely to play like a white-blue control deck or a white-red Boros deck. I mean, at this point, like, we're clearly not really seeing that much good red. The Shivan Fire was like second pick, the Chronicler third. Like a white-blue Coldwater Snapper control deck with this like Reproach and Blessed Light and Danitha and Archaeologist. I'm not sure yet. I think basically we're like near 100% to play white. And we don't know what our second color is, and we're not committed to any second color, basically, in any way. But, as LSV does highlight, one of the things that makes this one of my favorite formats of all time, you can literally play anything. You can play any 2-color combination, you can play any 3-color combination, you can splash whatever you want, you pay a small cost, it's not that punishing, but you generally have, everybody knows, like, Skittering Surveyor is great now, so, like, you have to take it over removal or something if you want to unlock your splashes. So there's, like, a lot of skill in, like, the draft portion, because everything's available, everything's wide open. Okay, so like I said, we're 100% committed to white. We don't have a second color. I'm not going to take a Bloodstone Goblin. Blink of an Eye is really good. Time of Ice, I'm lower on than most, but I would probably play it in this deck. It's got some synergies with some of the stuff we're doing, I think, but I think Blink is just a way better card. Like, if I table the Time of Ice, I might play it. And again, we're not committed to blue, but, like, there's no white cards. I'm not going to take Charge. And then the best red card is, like, a Journey Mage or a Bloodstone Goblin. I could take, like, an Eviscerate for a splash, but we have fine removal, and we have a couple decent blue cards and a couple decent red cards. So, and I think Blink is roughly as good as Eviscerate. Like, I would take Eviscerate over Blink, Pick 1, Pack 1, but not by much, and partially just because it's splashable. Which I guess is still relevant now, to be fair. So, let's see. This pack, Curator's Ward's not a card I like at all. I do like Arcane Flights on the Coldwater Snapper, but this thing is just a lot of mana for not very much. Lava Runner's fine in like a Red Blue Wizards deck, but it's not constructed. It still comes into play as a 1/2 a lot of time on most of the early turns. Totally fine playable, not even exciting. Cavalry is a pretty good card. Even if we're not aggro, like, it just dodges removal, which there's a lot of by going wide, and you get 4 power and toughness for 4 mana, which is reasonable. I don't think Cavalry is, like, great or anything if you're not looking to pump your team and stuff, but it plays well with equipment and auras, which there's plenty of. And, like, it's just a totally reasonable card. That was a pretty weak pack, though. I'm not really super happy with that pick. Ariel, where are you? I wanted to open you. Don't blame me. Listen, I named you after a Dominaria card. What more than that do you want me to do? Okay. Ugh, I thought she finally agreed. Okay, so Baird is pretty good if you're, like, you know, very defensive. Obviously, it doesn't attack well, but 2/4 Vigilance and they charge them if they want to attack is a very good defensive card. Familiar, yeah, if you're lessening the cost of expensive cards. So here's the thing about cards like Jorah's Familiar. It's really about the cards that you have that cost more than them. Like, if you have a bunch of cheap equipment, sure, you may save a mana off this Familiar, but you could have cast that card anyway, right? Where Jorah's Familiar provides a ton of value is if you lower a 7 mana historic card to 6 or a 6 mana historic card to 5. And the reason is not actually as obvious as it sounds. Look, it's good that you get to play it a turn early, but the real reason is because you might have drawn only 5 or 6 lands, and it might be letting you actually cast a card. It might be basically functioning as a free land, not as a Lotus Petal for the 1 turn or whatever. So, like, basically, you really, if your historic cards are cheap, you don't want to value stuff like Jorah Familiar highly. But as soon as you have like a 7 or a 6 that's like really good, then you start playing cards like that. But if your historic cards are cheap, I generally wouldn't play a card like that. All right, here I'm going to make the Discipline pick, piss off LSV while he's here, take the Mesa Unicorn. I'm just kidding. He's like 90%. I'm like 90% he would take Mesa Unicorn out of this pack. I don't have a ton of 2-drops. Mesa Unicorn is excellent. I've got good 3s, 4s, and so on. It wears a dub really well, it wears equipment really well, and even if we're a control deck, that only gives Lifelink more value. It might give 2 mana 2/2 a little less value, but it gives Lifelink even more value. Okay, so Easy Skittering Surveyor here. I don't know what this is still doing in the pack. I guess people didn't get the memo. I mean, look, if you're not playing a splash and everybody's settled into 2-color decks, yeah, Surveyor's not a great card for those. But at the same time, there's so many commons that are just so good to splash in this format. Eviscerate, Shivanfire, Blessed Light, I mean, Cloud Reader Sphinx. So many of the commons. So, like, Skittering Surveyor should basically never go 5th pick. That just should never happen, period. I'm kind of tilted right now. Because it's colorless, so, I mean, someone could use it. I don't know if we're going to splash red or not. We might not. Now that we got the Surveyor, we certainly can. We'll just have to see, like, you know, what we get. Because, you know, the thing is, a lot of the times you don't get to decide that, right? Like, if a pack has a Shivanfire and a Blessed Light, I'm just going to take Blessed Light since it's a main color, even though Shivanfire's a little better. But what if a pack has a Shivanfire and the best white card is a Deevinant Trapper? Well, now I'm going to take the Shivanfire, and now I'm going to have 2 Shivanfires, so I'm going to want to splash red a lot more. So I can't tell you whether we're going to splash red or not, because I don't know how many Shivanfires we're going to end up with at the end of this draft, or how many Fiery Interventions. This is one of my biggest philosophies in draft. You want to be able to maximize everything you see, but really the draft decides what you draft a lot more than you do. Okay, so Wade is pretty decent card drawing, and our curve actually looks pretty good. We've got, like, Unicorn and Reproach and cheap stuff, and then only 1/5, 1/6. Opt is fine. Like, I'm pretty much never cutting it if I'm, like, heavy blue, but it's obviously not an impressive card. I think I would only take Opt over Weight if I had, like, Adalez's and, like, a red-blue Wizards deck that wanted to, like, trigger things like that and wanted cheap cards. This looks to be, like, a white-blue control deck all the way, so I think I want the more powerful card drawing. So now, this is actually going to be a really interesting pick. So having the Daring Archaeologist, I'm actually considering the Candle. It's not an efficient card, and you don't really want a lot of it, but I've got 1 Surveyor. I'd like to pick up a removal I can get back from the yard. Cavalry's a fine 4-drop. Pegasus Courser's a fine 3-drop. Neither one's, like, super impressive for me. I'm not aggressive. But, you know, Courser is a win con. It blocks fine the turn you play it. I think I'm just going to take Courser just to fill my 3-drop slot nicely. But, again, my deck is not aggressive at all. I mean, let's be clear. Like, I have Deep Freeze in my deck. I'm going to have Weight of Memory in my deck. Like, I think Courser is the pick there because it's a decent blocker and stuff like that, too. But if it was, like, a 1/1 instead of a 1/3 with the same ability, there's no shot I take Courser there. The reason I take Courser there is because it can block the opponent's 2/2 flyer or 2/1 flyer or whatever and stuff like that. Or they're 2/2 on turn 3 and save me the 2 damage. But so even though I'm a defensive deck, it's still a fine card. But if it was the same card in a 1/1 flyer, it would still be a good card for an aggro deck, and I would, like, not play it in this deck. Okay, so I don't think there's any shot we're going to play any of these. I don't know. One of the few things I actually never did in this entire format, and I've probably done over 1,000 Dominaria drafts, is the Power Stone Shard thing. If you're still out there, LSV, have you ever actually put, like, 4 or more Power Stone Shards in a deck and made good use of the mana? That's just one thing I was, like, never able to do in the entire format. Oath of Teferi, not a good card. Obviously, maybe some constructed with Planeswalkers. We don't have any. So, Familiar Explorer. Decking is real. I mean, we have Weight of Memory already. We don't have expensive historic cards, but we have a few historic synergies and stuff, so we'll see how Pack 3 goes. Easy Snapper, although so far I haven't seen any Arcane Flights, but now with 2 Snappers and like a Mesa Unicorn and a Danitha, I'm all about Arcane Flight in this deck if I can get it. Yeah, it's disappointing. I feel like they missed a little bit with that card. Like, they could have done better. Maybe they should have had one more common that, like, fed it and was a little weaker. Like, some kind of, like, I don't know, 2-mana artifact comes into play tap to add a colorless or something like that. But it also fuels Power Stone Shard. Something of that nature might have gotten it to playable. Okay, so we're pretty committed to blue-white. We got a lot of blue cards that pack. But we've got the Surveyor, so we can pretty much splash anything. Let's see. And yeah, we didn't get much white that pack, so probably the person I'm passing to is white. But we'll probably see white again in this pack, because there's probably only 2 white players. Okay, so now let's see. This pack doesn't actually have much of anything that I want. Wow. I feel like almost we just got, like, hacked or something. We're white-blue with the ability to splash whatever. What is the best card in this pack for us? There is none. Like, there's a red-green-gold card. It's, like, the best card in the pack. Baloth Gorger's fine. Like, Caligo Skin Witch is a nice black card. Like, not splashable. Like, this pack literally has no playables for us. I'm not, like, this card is black in the kicker, so we couldn't even splash it, even if we splash black. I literally don't want any of these cards. I guess I'm going to take Short Sword just in case I want extra equipment. Like, this is rather gross, honestly. Okay, well, we're doing a little better. Nothing wrong with a blink of an eye. That's a card I like a lot. Not like an exciting second pick, but at least I know I'll get a card I'm happy to get, as opposed to a card that's probably not even going to make my deck. Oh, there's the Arcane Flight. I mean, I'm not going to take it over Blink of an Eye here, but if we table it, I will definitely play it. Arcanist. Yeah, Arcanist looks pretty good. So you remember the concept I talked to you? I'm going to highlight the Blink so I don't accidentally miss it. Remember the concept I talked to you about with Familiar about how, like, you're lessening the cost of expensive cards? That adds a lot more value because you might not have drawn that many lands. The same concept applies with Arcanist, right? As just, like, a driver of value. If you have a bunch of 2 and 3 mana instants, like, you probably drew 3 lands. Sure, you might get to spend 1 extra mana, you might not. Like, that's fine, but, like, it's not that exciting. But as your instants cost more and more mana, Arcanist gives you the ability to cast Weight and Blessed Light out of a hand where you only drew 4 lands. Or it gives you the ability to cast Cavalry out of a hand you only drew 3 lands. So the more expensive your instants and sorceries, the better by a lot something like Arcanist is. And it's the same with Jorah's Familiar or other expensive ramp cards. Basically, with any ramp card, the cards that cost, like, 2+ more than it add a lot of value to it, and, like, the other cards don't. Like, it doesn't mean, like, it doesn't have positive synergy without a lot of that, you can't play it, but that's where the value really comes from, in my opinion. Okay, so Coldwater Snapper number 3. I mean, look, we can play 3 6s in this deck, but that's not an exciting pick. Otherwise, Sergeant at Arms, but that's basically just another 6. At least we can play it on turn 3 if we are stuck on lands. Let me check my curve and see. We actually have quite a few 3-drops. Deep Freeze, fine if we need to slow them down. Surveyor, Drake, Courser, Danitha, Trooper. So we have Trapper. So we have like 6 cards we can just cast on turn 3. So I'm going to go with the 3rd Snapper. We might table that Flight. Maybe we'll end up with a couple Arcane Flights. I've already got a Dub, which is also really good to put on a Snapper. Not as good as Flight, but, I mean, you're probably not beating a 6/7 first strike in combat, right? So let's see. Not super interested in Skizzik. Obviously, not really a good card for our deck regardless. Trickster might end up fine. We might not even splash. It's a pretty good 2-drop with some value. Divination, I actually think Divination's a bit overrated in this format because you don't have the ability to turn extra lands into dead cards. I mean, into useful cards again that well. So, and you often go through your deck, so I would often rather just have a powerful card than a Divination. But I might take it here because it's basically that or Trickster. And Trickster's a double blue 2-drop, and I don't think we're doing that bad on 2-drops. So I think it's Divination, but I like the powerful card drawing in this format because the games are slow. Like, I love Weight of Memory. But I'm not huge on Divination. Don't get me wrong. It's a slow format. You can play it. I'm just saying, I think that, like, what ends up happening is you go up, like, a fraction of a card in this format when you Divination. Because more often than not, you finish with multiple dead lands by the end of the game. So by no means am I saying this is like an aggro format, don't play them. I'm just pointing out that like this is a format where you want like the power. You want like the big card drawing. Not like a draw 2 is fine. It's just whatever. Okay, so Rona would be a really nice card to splash. I think it has more synergy in our deck than the red, but there's decent blue and white cards. I'll probably just take Reproach. We're a pretty defensive deck, so now I'm pretty happy to just Reproach attackers. Try and win in the air or win with our late game. So I would have taken a second weight, as I just got done rambling about how much I really like it. But Cloud Reader Sphinx is just an awesome card. I mean, it's a weight of memory that doesn't make you fall behind because you scry your land to the bottom, right? 5 mana, 3/4 draw card. 5 mana, 3 draw 3, don't add to the board. I'm going to take 5 mana, 3/4 flying, draw a card. Cloud Reader Sphinx is just a fantastic creature. The only way I would ever take weight over it, I think, is, again, like, overt synergies. Like, if I had a couple Vidalian Arcanists or, you know, I was triggering, like I said, some Adalizzes and some other spells like that. But by and large, Cloud Reader Sphinx is just a lot better, and I'm high on weight of memory in this format. Okay, easy Blessed Light, good hard direct removal late. Again, I'd play dubs and stuff as win cons with all these Cold Water Snappers, but I'm obviously not taking them over Blessed Lights. So I think the Arcane Flight, was that the pack? No, that was pick 2 when I took the Blink, so that will be pick 10. So hopefully that one will come back, and then we'll have the 1 dub, 1 Arcane Flight. I'm not going to play this Curator's Ward. I don't need to give Hexproof. Everything has Hexproof that costs mana in my deck anyway. But other than that, looking pretty good. 3, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, like 19, 20, 21, 22. Like plenty of playables. Fine curve. I would say this is just like a very solid deck. Like, I could win any match or lose any match. Like, my deck's not busted, but it's pretty solid. Okay, this pack, again, doesn't really have anything I want. We're not going to splash any of these cards. I don't know. I might board the Excavator in. Since it is best of 3, who knows? Maybe we'll try and deck somebody else who's trying to draw a lot of cards. So this is pick 9. Again, pretty sure I'm not going to play any of these, and pretty sure there's none of these I would even ever board in. I mean, if I play against Tron, I'll board in the Damping Sphere, but I don't think I'm going to board it in against, like, a Thallid deck or a Wizard deck. And other than that, yeah, there's nothing in this pack for us. Rats, no Arcane Flight. This is the pack that had it. But I'll definitely take Invoke because at least it's best of 3 and that's a good sideboard card. But I wanted the Arcane Flight with my 3 snappers, I'm not going to lie to you. Pretty much no way we're going to use any of these. This is interesting. I mean, I've drafted white-blue control like plenty of times in this format, but it's definitely not one of the more common ones. I would say like my most common deck drafted in this format is like black-green. Like, I'm not counting any splashes, to be clear, because like Skittering Surveyors, long games, card drawing, you can splash in this format. But like, I think I draft black-green the most, blue-red the second most, black-red the third most, black-blue the fourth most. Like, I draft a lot of black grindy decks in this format and stuff like that. I don't really draft, like, blue-white control that much. But like I said, I feel like this is a pretty medium deck. Nothing wrong with it whatsoever. The curve is fine. 2 blinks, 2 reproaches, 2 blessed lights. I can kill things and draw cards. I don't have great mythics. Like, my power level's not over the top. But, I mean, obviously I can kill some things and I can draw cards. And I shouldn't get run over and my curve is fine and all of that. Okay, so let's see where we're at. Just cut the obvious cuts. Not saying some of these are very likely to make my deck. I'm just trimming the cards that are like 0% to make my deck right now. Okay, so that leaves us, what, 33 cards? 5, 8, 11, 13, 16, 19, 22, 26, 30, 33. So like I said, I mean, this is a deck that I'm not, like, I'm trying to win as a control deck. Like, I've got a bunch of big hexproof things. I've got, like, draw 3, a 3/4 flying scry. Like, I don't think this is a deck I'm really trying to, like, win on the ground. I could get decked. I wish I had, like, a counterspell or 2. But, I mean, I guess, like, Pegasus Courser and Academy Drake can both be decent win cons, too. So, alright, so I'm going to cut, like, some of the little aggressive stuff. Like, we didn't end up with any more equipment synergies. Like, I don't think I need to play those or that. Artificer's Assistant. I don't actually even have that much Historic. Relic Runner, I think I'll keep as probably the last one as a way to finish games as well. No, it has 1 toughness. I hate 1 toughness creatures. And, like, I'm not, like... Even though I look like I don't have a lot of 2-drops, I mean, again, Gideon's Reproach means I can't get run over, really. I mean, so, like, and it's not that aggro of a format anyway. I'm not really worried about it. If I missed a late Syncopate, I don't know what I took over it. I mean, if it was, like, Blessed Light or something, or Cloud Reader Sphinx, there was a lot of late cards. But if there was one super late and I just didn't see it, then my bad. So I think the 3-1 is going to be better than the 2-1 that can go unblockable sometimes in my deck. Like, I don't actually have that much historic. Like, I have 1, 2... I have some, but 3, 4... Like, that's not a lot of historic, right? So I think I'd rather just have the extra power, and I can only cut so many 2-drops. But I think this is good. 2-drop creatures, the Opt to Help, and then the 2 Reproaches. Like, I'm not ever playing Blink of an Eye on turn 2. Another thing I don't think I've ever done in the whole format. Maybe if they made some kind of rare token or something. But I can Reproach their 2-drop when they attack me if I need to, or whatever. Okay, anyways. Not on turn 2, obviously. So then from the 3-drops, Trapper, again, we're not very aggressive. I don't really love maining Invoke. And we have 2 Blessed Lights. Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'll board it in, but with 2 Blessed Lights, that's unnecessary. Think we'll cut 1 Snapper. We've got the 1 Dub, and it's still a nice drop, but we didn't get the Arcane Flights I was hoping for. This looks about right. I'm not sure if we want to play 16 or 17 lands. I mean, Div helps hit land drops. Opt helps hit land drops. I might choose to draw. So that could be a reason to play 16 and choose to draw, I think. I think I like that. I mean, we have a bunch of removal, like cheap removal, Reproaches, Deep Freeze. This thing gains life. This thing blocks the little flyers. This slows them down a lot, the Baird. I'm not going to pronounce that right ever, just to be clear. And then more removal. I think we can draw first with this deck. So I'm going to go 16 and draw. Probably going to go 8-8. The Opt is like a pseudo white source, and so is Divination. So even though we have a few more white cards, I think it's pretty clear 8-8. If I was going to play a 9th, it would be a Plains. Okay, cool. No way, Spiffy. I refuse to believe it. I'll take it, but I refuse to believe it. Sweet. I probably just got lucky. I'll probably pronounce it wrong next time. Okay, anyways, let's see. Can we import? Too many decks. This always happens to me. Too many sweatsuits. So to be clear, don't always force mono red, but if people are going too deep in this format, the mono red, like, as a foil is absolutely legit. I mean, this is the kind of format, like I said, where Weight of Memory appeals more to me than Divination. So that means you can certainly go under people. Like, Fungal Infection can stop that pretty well. Like, there's 2 3-mana Thalids, a black and a green common, that are really hard to keep attacking into. Plenty of cheap removal, Gideon's Reproach, Vicious Offering, Fungal Infection. But if people are neglecting those cards and neglecting 1/3s and trying to go over the top of each other, you can certainly draft mono red and go under them. I absolutely am down for that when it feels like that's what's open and everybody's fighting for blue. But don't force mono red. Just one of many good strategies. No, Jorah's Familiar could be cut, but also I like that it's an artifact, so if I trade it off, I can get it back with the Daring Archaeologist. I don't actually think the Familiar's ramp is good in this deck, but I think having it as an artifact creature, because, so, like, creatures tend to die, right? Like, I can just trade it for their 2-drop, even if it looks like a trade down, then I can play the Archaeologist and get it back. So I think that's worth playing it. Okay, so let me see who my first round opponent is. I have no idea. Looks like tonight I've got... Is that Eckle? I don't know who that is. I don't think I've played them before. Sweet. Usually when it goes to that pairing screen, it's a really good sign. It means it's queuing up immediately. Like I said, I'm going to choose to draw. This is not like, this is a draw first format. Like, this is one of the formats I've drawn first the most in draft ever. Because, so people I think are often somewhat confused when it comes to drawing and playing. There's a correlation, obviously. The slower your deck, the more you're going to want to draw. The more aggressive your deck, the more you're going to want to play. But that's not really the main factor that drives that decision. I think there's a bit of a misconception there. Cheap removal out of either deck really makes both players want to draw. Removal's better on the draw, and if people have an abundance of cheap removal, you're not running them over. You know, but if nobody has cheap removal and creatures are going to attack past each other, or if you block, you're going to get run into combat tricks, then both players really want to play. So the main thing that makes me want to draw is amount of cheap removal. Like, the more, like, Fungal Infections, Shivan Fires, Gideon's Reproach, Vicious Offering, the more of that you have in your deck, the more you should be drawing first. And the more of that your opponent has in their deck, the more you should be drawing first. So don't be afraid to draw first with an aggro deck in this format if your opponent's like a black deck and you see a lot of those cheap cards. But don't be afraid to play first with an aggro deck if your opponent's got a slow deck with Weight of Memories and green ramp cards either. Cheap removal makes you want to draw. Slow deck, like ramp, not like their cards are expensive, like they can't impact the board early, that makes you want to play, to run them over if you're an aggro deck. Okay, let's see. It's not strictly for fun. The winner of this gets a bunch of coffee, which I'm completely addicted to, so that's a great prize for me. They messaged me after I won a couple weeks ago, you know, for like an address to send me a bunch of coffee, so I'll always take that. Let's see. So what do they have here, right? Like, his Fungal Infection actually doesn't work if I block the 1/1. There's not a lot. I mean, there's like the +2/+2 card. I don't actually care very much about my Danitha, so if I had a bunch more creatures to play in hand, I would block. Not even a bunch. If I was just going to play creatures and didn't have like cheap interaction, I would block. I'm not going to block, but it's only because this creature, next turn, it has Vigilance. I'm going to attack with it, and then I'm going to have Reproach or Blink up. So if they have a trick, it'll just be even better for me. And, like, I can, like, I'll explain in some more detail in a second. So basically, like, this Danitha, even though it's an uncommon and, like, a first pickable type card, it's actually probably not as good as it looks because this format is just so, like, vanilla creatures are meh. But, like, the thing is, if I knew they had a pump spell and my hand was just, like, you know, 1 removal, like a Blessed Light, and, like, a 3-drop and 5-drop creature or something, I would block, even if I was looking at their pump spell. The reason I'm not blocking is because I don't have creatures to add to the board, but I have a bunch of cheap instants. So now I can just, like, kind of use this Danitha to, like, block, and if they go for their trick, I'll blow them out. If they don't, then, you know, Danitha eats things. Now, they probably won't attack into Danitha and all my open mana, but that's fine, too. Danitha effectively stops 6 points of damage this turn just by existing in play. So that's why I didn't want to trade it off last turn when I have a hand of, like, cheap instants. Because either they attack and get blown out, or they don't attack, and Danitha stops literally all their creatures from attacking. But conversely, like, if I had Blessed Light and a couple more creatures and I didn't have Reproach and Blink of an Eye, I'd just block with Danitha, they'd play their trick, and then I just play my next creature. So here, I'm not going to do anything in a turn. We know they have some kind of trick, so we're not going to attack, because if we attack, then they block, then we first strike something out and go for our trick, they're just going to use theirs, so I'm just going to chill for now. We have a Cold Water Snapper that they can't interact with, so we can always reevaluate then. Also, if they pass here, I might Blessed Light or something. We'll see what they do. I'm probably actually not going to do anything because they might Vicious Offering in response or something like that. And, like, I don't really care that much about hitting for 2 or not right now. I'm just going to lay down a creature that they shouldn't be able to interact with. And they're going to have to play things, or sooner or later I'm going to be attacking, so. There are times I would play the Blink Kick to kill just a 1/1, but it would be if I thought there was value, like if it unlocked a profitable attack, or if I needed to hit land drops. Given my hand, I already had lands, I don't have pressure, my hand's basically going nowhere fast. I think Blink can do better for me than killing a 1/1 creature. So, like, the number one rule for when you choose to play a card for less than its value, like, nowhere near max value, just to, like, spend your mana, is basically, like, the higher pressure the game. If you're going to be casting things constantly until the end of the game, then you might as well play a card now for not necessarily that much value because you're going to finish the game with it in your hand otherwise. You can see from this game, like, this game's going nowhere fast, right? Like, even on turn 4, if you had asked me to guess what turn this game's going to end on, I'm not psychic, but I would have said, like, 10 plus, right? Like, I have a lifelinker, I've got two removal spells and a bounce spell in my hand, and they're playing black-green, a very grindy, not particularly aggressive deck. So when that's the situation, I basically feel like I'm going to have multiple opportunities to use Blink for more value than that. Whereas if it was a high pressure game and we were just going to attack and cast things, I might never have an opportunity to use Blink before the game even ends, let alone for more value than that. Okay, so this is interesting. So the kicker on that +2/+2 common is +4/+4, right? So like, what if I like double block? They can't just do nothing because then first strike eats it. If they make it a 6/6, that doesn't match up very well. Like I would double block the Sap Herd, not the 3/2. So they could take out Snapper, but they'd still lose Sap Herd and the card and their turn. What else can they have? Is there anything else that's like super relevant? It's not like I'm about to suit up the Snapper. I know what I just got done saying with tricks, but now I have 2 creatures. I have another card that makes 2 more 2/2s, and I think the card is just +4/+4. So I'm going to go for the double block. I hope I'm not wrong. I don't necessarily remember all the tricks in this format, but remember, I'm not about to put an Arcane Flight on my Coldwater Snapper. I'm about to make 2 more 2/2 creatures, and I think the trick is +4/+4. Or +2/+2, maybe, if they don't want to kick it, if they just want to kill Danitha, not Coldwater Snapper. So I guess maybe they have that and +4/+4. Then I get blown out. Yeah, that didn't go well. Now, they had to have both, but that didn't go well. So I'm going to play the Baird over the Call here. If they want to attack into that, they have to pay mana, and then I've got my Gideon's Reproach up. I mean, don't get me wrong, that looks worse than it is. Danitha was not a particularly strong card right there, and it was a 2/2, basically, other than them getting a sap. But if I thought at all they had both of those, and not just +2/+2, I would not have blocked. Okay, so we have to discard 2 cards. We don't have the ability to kick Blink. This is rough. I probably should have held 1 land. I probably played 1 land too many against a black deck. That's just sloppy play, honestly. Because I needed to have 6 for Snapper and 6 for Baird plus Reproach. I didn't need 7 at all. So this was a sloppy land play. That said, what are we going to discard? Blink and Reproach, unless we want to have Reproach up this turn. They use 2 tricks. There's no reason to think we need to have Reproach up this turn. So I'm going to discard Blink and Reproach. But this would be a lot. I'd be a lot happier right now if I was discarding like Reproach and Plains. That was very sloppy. I think the block was correct, because I don't even think it mattered that I buried the Snapper and the Danitha. I'm not even sure those would be attacking right now, and if they only had the 1 gift, it would have been really good for me. So I actually think the block was correct. If I knew what they had, I might not have done it, but I definitely think that was correct. I actually think playing the Plains was a horrible mistake, even though you're unlikely to get punished. I didn't need land 7. It didn't unlock a 3-mana spell or anything, and Caligo Skin, which is a common, and my hand was all spells. I think actually playing Plains or whatever was actually a really bad mistake, playing land 7. It's funny because you would probably not even notice that, a lot of people playing the land 7, whereas like the block looks horrible because they had both. But I mean, it still wasn't horrible for me, and they had both. Whereas on the other hand, I could have just freely held this Plains and I'd have a whole extra good spell in hand right now. I think that's actually a pretty bad mistake. That said, Baird's holding the fort for right now, so I'm going to play the Familiar, see if I can start attacking. Hey, thanks, Furnace Dragon. Really appreciate the subscription. And there goes the rest of the hand. Hopefully that last card in their hand is a land or something, because I'm still at 17, and Baird technically stops all their creatures. Like, I might even send Jorah's Familiar. How much damage do I take if they alpha? All their creatures have 1 power. Let's say I block Sap Herd. It's 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, so I'm at 9. Feels close, but maybe no cigar. Like, I need to draw, like, 1 more blocker. Because remember, even if they add 1 more attacker, I'd still be eating 2 creatures. So I don't think I can poke them for 2 right now, but I think I'm, like, 1 blocker away, basically. Yeah, Baird willed, which was kind of ridiculous. All right, that's my kind of draw. I'm not milling them because I don't think this game will come down to decking, and there's all kinds of recursion in this format. For all I know, they're holding a Soul Salvage or whatever. And now I will attack, because again, if they want alpha, I'll eat 2 creatures, and so even though I'll take roughly the same amount of damage, 8 instead of 9, I get an additional free kill, and that's good enough for me. It was close before. And the thing is, the land play isn't results-oriented. I didn't need land 7. That's the thing. If I had a 3-mana trick instead of a 2-mana trick in my hand there, it would be right to play the land and get blown out by Skin Witch. It's just like, I just didn't. Like, I didn't even have card drawing in hand. I didn't need to. Next turn, if I wanted to have Blessed Light and Reproach, I could just play land 7 next turn. So that was actually a blatant mistake. The block is like a close strategical decision, but they had to have 2 tricks or it goes really well for me. And Danitha and Snapper were, like, I wouldn't make that block if I knew they had the 2 tricks, but it really wasn't that big of a deal. Danitha was barely more than a 2-2 at this point. Snapper a 4-5. So, like I said, I think the playing the land was actually a really bad mistake. I really regret that. The block is like, I could take it or leave it. I know 254. I've been super busy, but we're Dom drafting. Was Wait the best draw in my deck? Yeah, maybe. I mean, might have been the most powerful card in my deck late game. I mean, Sphinx might have been better. I don't know. Probably pretty close. Okay, I'm not assuming they have anything. Even if they do, I don't really... It's not them making them pay 1 that, like, is crucial here or something. So this seems almost like a scripted block. I guess I could double a Skin Witch, but then I would just take more damage. I could block the Thal to save a point, but it leaves a 1-1 behind. So, yeah, this just seems crystal clear. I assume they have something, because I don't necessarily think they'd want to throw away Sapper to deal me 4. I just also don't really care. I don't even know which of my creatures is better right now, Baird or Courser. Remember, I'm going to drop another big blocker. I don't need to make them pay mana to attack. They have 10 mana and nothing to cast. If they want to alpha, they can alpha. Like, it looks really punishing when you make your opponent tap 6, but they have 1 card in hand that's probably a land, and, like, they have 10 mana out. So, like, making them pay mana is not exactly as good as it looks. On the other hand, Baird has Vigilance, so this is kind of cool. I'm just going to smash and drop Snapper now. Baird already has Vigilance, and now it has Flying. Okay, I just made my second mistake. So I completely forgot the Surveyor cost 1 less. That's why I didn't cast it. If you're about to ask, did I hold it for strategical reasons? The answer is no, no, and no. I just thought it cost 3, and it doesn't. It costs 2. So just made another mistake. Okay, so let's see. Their blocks on the ground are going to be fine. There's no reason to attack on the ground. I don't need the Snapper back to block. So this seems easy. Just going to attack. And I want to have some blockers. Is there like a sweeper in their colors? I mean, I know there's the Phyrexian Mythic, but that takes a turn, so they'd be dead. I don't think there's an instant sweeper here, right? If not, I'm going to play the Unicorn. Yeah, the Saga, that's the Phyrexian Mythic I'm talking about. It takes a turn, though. So they'll be dead. So I'm going to play the Unicorn. But yeah, so I should have played the Surveyor, of course, like I said. I just completely forgot it cost 2. Yeah, I know, Jorge. That's what I'm talking about, the Phyrexian Mythic. But that's the only one I can think of, and it takes a turn, so I think the attack's safe. All right, again, I think ground attacks at this point are not accomplishing anything. Oh, Urza's Ruinous Blast. Yeah, I meant in their colors. Obviously, yeah, Urza's Ruinous Blast too. I think Red might have some way to deal like 2 or 3 to everything in this format. I can't remember. Maybe not. Oh, 1 to everything. Common, Radiant Lightning. I might have one. But yeah, there's not really a bunch of sweepers in this format. There's like Jaya's, the red one that can deal like to 3 different targets, the Legendary Mythic, Ruinous Blast, and then the real sweeper, like the only Wrath really, that's just like an outright Wrath, is the one we were talking about, the 4-mana Saga Black, but that's, but yeah, it's delayed a turn, so they were dead. Okay, so did we see targets for Invoke? I don't think so. Didn't see that many of their cards, but no. 0 targets for Invoke. They have some little aggressive creatures. I wouldn't hate bringing in a 1-3, especially if I might be on the draw this game. Matches up good against Sapper and all the Sapperlings, 1/1s. Do I have any weak cards, though? I think my cards are pretty good. I can take out, like, Familiar, but I like it because of the Archaeologist. I can take out Dub because I'm on the draw, but, like, their deck's not very aggressive. Knight is probably really bad against them. I probably need to take that out. That card just matches up so poorly against Fungal Infection and the Thalids. All the Sapperlings. Just board that in, maybe. Yeah, other than that, that's all I'm going to do. Okay, perfect hand to lose with. We're on the draw. 2 lands. Gideon's Reproach, Skittering Surveyor. No shot I would ever mulligan this in a million years. Yeah, I know milling against a black deck isn't great spiffy, but remember, I only have like 4 historic cards. I brought it in just to have an early blocker and to slow them down, not really to mill them out. We also didn't see Recursion, and we saw 2 Dark Bargains, so it's not impossible that milling them out is a thing, but that I weighed a memory myself just as a default play last game for that reason, and that was obviously correct. But, like, I don't think I want to be afraid to board in a 2-mana 1/3 when I'm short 2 drops, and they're on the play, and it's not going to mill them that much. Land. 1 land. Then I can Surveyor for an island. And if I get stuck on 4, I can do plenty. 1 land. Hooray. Always nice when, the good guys triumph. Happens so rarely in the real world. In the real world these days. That was like a tongue twister. Rarely real world. Wheel world. Wheel world. I'm glad that y'all like me for my drafting and not my speaking. And my speaking is probably just extra entertainment. Oh, yeah. I will, listen. I mean, I like to give credit where it's due, but I think I'm the first person who, literally, days after the set came out, I was just like, this is a slow, grindy format with infinite splashable commons. Surveyor's the best common in the set for pick 1, pack 1. I think I'm just going to block. I mean, I don't want to slap dub on that. I need to slow them down here, I think. I have card drawing and stuff. Now, to be clear on this, don't first pick a Surveyor if it's pack 2 or 3 and you have colors. The reason it's pick 1, pack 1 is because, out of the commons, is because if you get it, then you already know you have good enough mana to splash from the go. You could draft any colors, it's an artifact, and then you can pick up, whatever Blessed Light, Shivan Fire, Cloud Reader, Sphinx out of weak packs. Once I'm already blue-red, there's a lot of commons I'm taking over Skittering Surveyor. Once I'm already black-green, there's a lot of commons I'm taking over Skittering Surveyor. I'm talking about pick 1, pack 1. Not once you have an archetype and you can get cards in your color and you know what colors you are. Okay, now let's see. I could blink that to try and hit my land drop, or I could Divination and play Unicorn. I think I kind of like Divination Unicorn because that doubles my chances of hitting the land drop this turn, but then I can just put dub on the Unicorn. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with blinking here. It's kind of like a time, just stall time for a little bit and see 2 more cards. But I'm going to miss a land drop this turn unless it's the very top card, and I can always make the same blink play next turn, take a hit for 5. I'm still at 17. Let me make sure it leaves a white up. This way, if I draw an island and not a plains, I can still cast the Unicorn. But obviously, that didn't happen. Again, pick 1, pack 1. I take Surveyor over Shivan Fire or Eviscerate. Once I'm red-blue or black-green, I'm only taking Skittering Surveyor over Shivan Fire or Eviscerate if I'm already 3 colors and don't have a Surveyor or something like that. If at the end of pack 1 I have a 2-color black-green deck, and pack 2 I open Surveyor and Eviscerate, I take Eviscerate. Pick 1, pack 1, if I open Eviscerate and Skittering Surveyor, I take Skittering Surveyor. Okay, so now we got the land 1 card later that I would have really liked. I can go Unicorn Dub and just hope they don't have anything. It's kind of rough. The problem is, I don't have anything I can play that really matches up especially well with either of those. I can chump the Surveyor and the Abomination. That's almost free. I can get it back with the Archaeologist. But what do I want to do otherwise? Unicorn Dub is a pretty good use of my turn, and I didn't see that much hard removal. I mean, it could have Eviscerate. I mean, it feels bad because it's a 2-for-1, but really it's just putting out a 4/4 First Striker this turn, which I think is my best option. Cold Reader Sphinx would help me hit the land drop, but I actually don't even get a double block because the Steel Leaf Champion can't be blocked by the Surveyor. So I think it's just run Unicorn on and dub on it. Hopefully they can't kill it. I mean, there's not, a ton of ways here. There's Eviscerate or, settle the score. But oh, Dominaria so holds up. I think this is the, I'm not counting stuff like Modern Masters and stuff that's very different. I think this is the best limited format since, maybe the first Ravnica. As far as just regular sets. All right, let's see. I'm probably going to lose. If they have the pump spell, I'm not even going to try and play around that. The fight spell's pretty bad. It's the one with legends and +1/+1 counters, so you play it sometimes, you don't. I think this format's way better than Innistrad. I didn't hate Innistrad or anything. I personally think Innistrad was one of the most overrated formats. Not that it was bad. Like, I enjoyed it for its 3 months or whatever, but I know a lot of people love it. That's fine. Teach their own. And I actually do. I'm not big on like flavor and stuff like that, but I actually think it was kind of cool. I actually kind of like that like kind of ghost Halloweeny theme. Like, I'm born in October, and Halloween was one of my favorite holidays when I was a kid, and right around my birthday and all that. Plus, like, growing up in South Florida, you count the days till it gets cool every year. But that said, like, I mean, the in-game play wasn't great. Like, Werewolf is a horrible limited mechanic. Spider spawning was sweet, but it was like broken and goldfishy, like basically playing combo. Like, I don't know. Like I said, I think it was fine. I didn't think it was a bad format or anything, but it's not one of my faves. All right, so we're going to game 3. We can play if we want. I don't think we want. The deck's not really that aggressive. Still nothing to invoke. I don't actually know if I'm going to change anything. I think I'm going to choose to draw. Maybe I want the Trapper in, just have another early body, especially if I know I'm going to get to draw. Do I have anything that lines up poorly that doesn't cost 2 or less mana? Not really. All my cards are pretty good. I could take out the Familiar. Or like a Snapper. I think I might be pretty reliant on a Snapper to hold the ground. I don't think I need 3, but I think I like 2. Don't think I would mind that Trapper in, especially if I'm going to choose to draw, which I am planning to do. I guess I could take out, like, Familiar, but I kind of like the idea of discarding Familiar to one of those Skin Witches and getting it back with Daring Archaeologist and stuff like that. I guess I could take out Dub. I don't think I need to dub anything, and I saw plenty of removal, and I'm going to be on the draw. Like, I like Dub on Coldwater Snapper as a way to win the control mirrors, but their deck seems like a lot of, like, cheaper cards, not, like, super powered stuff, so I think I can just beat them in the late game. Yeah, Befuddle would be okay. It's kind of situational, though, and I don't have that many instants. I guess I do have the 2 Blinks as more expensive instants to leave up, in addition to the 2 Blessed Lights. Normally, I like cards like Befuddle when you have counters or card drawing and stuff, so you can just leave your mana up, and then they don't attack, and then end of turn you play, like, your card drawing, or you counter something, or whatever. I guess the Blinks give me a decent amount. Basically, expensive tricks that are good, like, you want to leave up your mana for on your opponent's turn. You want to have other cards that you can play. Like, if they do other things or don't attack or the trick doesn't line up or whatever, or just so they don't blatantly know you have the trick too. So, like, those kind of cards are generally good if you have a bunch of, like, expensive instant card drawing and counter spells and stuff, which I don't have a lot of, but 2 Blinks, 2 Blessed Lights is not nothing. So I maybe could have brought it in. Yeah, so I was just giving myself credit for Skittering Surveyor, which I did not find Spider Spawning at all. I remember, like, whoever it was, like, when we were in the testing house, like, Raptor or LSV or whoever was drafting that deck, and I was just like, what the heck? Like, what is going on here? Like, I did not figure that deck out in the slightest. Actually, I don't think anybody did before the tournament. I think it was like 3 weeks later when somebody figured it out for a limited GP or something. If I remember correctly, I'm not sure that anybody really knew about Spider Spawning in the Dominaria draft, like in the draft portion of the Dominaria Pro Tour. I could have that wrong. I quote a lot of things. I have a pretty good memory, but, like, I could be completely wrong on that. I know for sure I didn't figure out Spider Spawning. When other people were Spider Spawning, I was like, what is going on here? But I don't actually remember exactly when it was figured out or by who. Yeah, Burning Vengeance was sweet. I 3-0'd a draft at Worlds with Burning Vengeance that was really good. I had, like, 2 Burning Vengeances and a bunch of flashback blue-red, just super control. It was really good. It was one of my easier 3-0s. Like, that deck was, like, playing Constructed against Limited. Okay, let's see. If I play Danitha, they could have, like, Vicious Offering. We haven't even seen that yet. I could play, like, Courser that dodges it, but, I mean, I don't really care if they kill Danitha. I don't even have things that's, like, I don't have Aura and Equipment in my deck or anything. Like, it's fine. 3 mana, 2/2, Historic, Vigilance, all that, but whatever. They didn't attack because they know I have Gideon's Reproach, so they were trying to strand my mana. I mean, their play isn't necessarily bad. I'm not necessarily saying it's optimal, but just like y'all think my double block was bad because they had the 2 tricks, now you think their attack is bad because I didn't have the trick? What is it? Do you want to play around the tricks or do you not want to play around the tricks? So, like, they saw the Reproach. Corrosive Ooze is not a super valuable creature, so should they have played around it? It really just depends on their whole hand. It's not just how much you care about the 2/2 though, because it's turn 2, so you can strand my mana, right? Like, you pretty much know if you don't attack there, my 2 mana is not getting spent. And if you do attack and I have approach, I get to spend my mana. So, like, yeah, how much do you value the 2/2 based on your hand, but also just, like, how valuable do you think stranding my mana is on turn 2 and stuff like that. Which, again, also depends on your hand. Like, if you're going to play a high-pressure game, you actually don't necessarily want to attack. But if the game's just going to go on forever, like, then the Gideon's Reproach is going to do more than kill a Corrosive Ooze. That's actually somewhat counterintuitive, so it's probably worth highlighting. Like, if you have an aggro hand, you probably actually don't want to attack with the Ooze. Play your 3-drop past the turn and strand my mana and try and get further ahead. If you're going to play a long, slow, grindy game, you probably do attack with the Ooze because Gideon's Reproach is just going to do even better later than kill a Corrosive Ooze. That's actually almost the exact opposite of what I think would be intuitive. Like, the more aggressive your hand, the less you want to attack with the Ooze there, I think. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's value with the 2 damage more if you have an aggro hand, but really, like, you want to strand my mana and develop a board advantage. Then I play a creature, then you kill it, hit me for 5. That's what you want to accomplish if you're aggro. You don't want to let me play my Reproach, play a creature, you kill it, and only hit me for 3, and you have 1 less 2/2 in play. Okay, so let's see. Here we can play Surveyor and Baird, or we can play Courser and Surveyor. So Courser's going to give us better attacks. So the question is, do we want the better blocks and the making them pay that Baird offers? Yeah, maybe. We can't block. Oh, no, we can block Deathbloom Thallid with Danitha. Okay. So in that case, I think I'm just going to attack with both. I can't really get blown out that bad because Danitha has first strike. So, like, even if they have a trick here, I'll first strike out one of theirs, then go for the Blessed Light. Like, the plan is to first strike out the Ooze and then Blessed Light the Thallid. And then if they take it, I'm just going to play Surveyor and Courser. I played the land pre-combat because I had to unlock Blessed Light in case they double block. Okay. There goes playing multiple things post-combat, I guess, but nothing I can really do about that. Nor is it any sort of big deal. So now, though, change of plans, I think. So, like, Courser would do more as far as attacks, but I think I'm more interested in using more mana. Like, if I play the Baird this turn, next turn with 6, I can go Surveyor into Courser. If I play the Courser this turn, I can't go Surveyor into Baird. I can go Surveyor into Divination, but then I'm stranding a good creature in my hand for much longer. For what? To deal them, like, 1, maybe 3 points of damage. So I think using more of my mana and getting my better cards in play has substantially more value than dealing them, like, an extra 2 next turn. So kind of the same as last turn. I'm not going to send Baird because if they double block, I would have to play the Blessed Light and then they could use their trick. But I'm going to send Danitha because if they double block, I'm going to first strike out the Ooze and then I can go for Blessed Light on Thallid and pretty much no matter what they have, it can't be that bad for me. So I can't send Baird because they would get to double block and I'd have to either trade Baird for like Thallid or Ooze, which would be a horrible trade, or use my Blessed Light first and then they could potentially blow me out with their trick. With Danitha, they have to have 2 tricks to blow me out. And even then, actually, I don't even know because I can just pass to them and they have to play their cards first. So with Danitha, like, there's no 1 trick they can have to blow me out. And it's in order for it to even be possible, they have to have, like, 2 precise tricks or something. All right, so first strike out the Ooze. Or at least attempt to. Okay, so now I can Blessed Light that, and then first strike out the Thallid, so life is still extremely good unless they have that second trick. And again, even if they do, we've just got a 2-for-1, and then we'll see what they're going to use another card to stop Danitha or something. Not to say that's wrong, of course, if they have Fungal Infection or the Pump Spell, they should absolutely use it here on their Deathbloom Thallid. Just cool. This worked out pretty well. I wish I could grow an awesome beard. Not because I think they look that good, just because, like, I would have to shave less often. The problem is my face always starts itching when I hit, like, days 5 or 6. Like, I don't have to shave for anything I do, so I just shave a couple times a week, usually, like, twice a week. But, like, if I let my hair grow to, like, day 5, day 6, it really starts itching so much. If anybody knows, like, any really great, easy, convenient solutions to that, I'm all ears, because shaving is work for no gain, in my opinion, except that I don't like my face itching a ton. What's up, McLovin? I'm doing well this evening. We're in a good game 3 here, round 1. Got a pretty sweet blue-white control in the sweatsuit. Like, it stops itching. How long does it take to get past the itchy phase, Spiffy? Because I've never made it through. I've made it to, like, day 2, but it was still itching. So, like, I don't know how long the itchy phase lasts. Okay, so here, if I attack, they can double block, but I'm cool with that. Again, them paying 1 is not really a thing. So obviously, if they double block, I get to choose which creature I kill. Do I want to trade Baird for Windgrace Acolyte at this point in the game when they have 6 lands and 1 card in hand? Sure, I'll trade a 2/4 for a 3/2 flyer. So we're going to attack, and then post-combat, I'm just going to drop Coldwater Snapper, I think. Around a week, like 1 to 2 weeks. That's rough. Maybe if I ever get if I ever decide to do like a full staycation, like I know it looks like I've been chilling because I haven't been streaming, but part of that is because I'm planning to buy a house this year, so I've been putting in like poker hours like crazy. But like, if I ever after I buy a house next year, if I'm streaming more, not going out more, maybe I'll try a week where I do kind of like a staycation and do the opposite. Don't like play poker, leave the house much, just stream a lot. Maybe I'll grow the beard that week or whatever. That could be fun. Or try and do the itchy beard week like that. Ironically, COVID actually didn't, it did for the first month or two, but the casino reopened really quickly here. So, I mean, I was only on lockdown from COVID from, April through, June of last year. Don't get me wrong. I didn't go to any, silly entertainment. You wouldn't catch me in a movie theater or whatever, until after, I didn't go to a magic shop until, 3 weeks after my second dose of getting vaccinated, 2 months ago. But I did go to the casino day in and day out and just, work, basically. Okay. Not claiming that's essential work or it should have been open or anything. I would never have weighed in on any of those policies. If the state left the casino closed by order, I would have respected that. If they open it as a healthy 37-year-old, I'll go because it's my primary source of income. But I'm not in any way saying it should have been open or that it was important work or that it was essential or any nonsense like that. It probably should have been closed. Okay, so if I attack with Baird, now they can double block with Surveyor and Thallid. I don't want that. If I attack with Snapper and they want to kill it, Windgrace Acolyte has to be involved. I think I'm cool with that. So I'm going to send Snapper, but not Baird. Last turn, they would have had to double block the Baird with the Windgrace, and I would have gotten to kill it. Now they could double block with Surveyor and Thallid. I don't want to trade it for Thallid. Coldwater, the only way they can kill involves a block with Windgrace, and I'm actually cool with that. I did used to go to FNMs. Like I said, I haven't been to an FNM in a year and a half now. I ceased all that kind of activity that wasn't my primary source of income. I just, during COVID, once Florida reopened, I mostly drove through places. Maybe occasionally I would eat outside, super spaced out, and I just go to the casino and back. Okay, so what are we going to do now? This thing can be pumped into a 4/4. Hey, thanks as needed. Appreciate the subscription. I normally play 2/5 no limit at the casino. Okay, so I can attack with the 2 snappers. They can trade Shade for 1. They have a million swamps. That's a good trade for me, I would say. I don't think sending the Baird is going to make any sense. They could always put the Shade in front of it. This looks easy. Just sending the 2 snappers for sure and nothing else. For them to kill a snapper, it still has to involve either Shade or Windgrace dying. I'm cool with that. Shade can grow to a 7/7 next turn. Okay, so now I have a choice. I can kill Shade or the 2/3/2s. I think it's close. I think I want the 2/3/2s. If they don't have removal, I can fly over the Shade with the Courser, lifting the remaining snapper. If they have removal for the Courser, we might end up in more of a stalemate that way, but I have draw 5 in my hand, so I don't think I'm particularly scared of a stalemate. I know I've been winning the race this whole game, and I keep talking about how I want to trade Snapper for Windgrace, but I mean, my hand has just been good, and now it's even better, so I think I take the 2 3/2s over the Shade. Of course, Windgrace first, because if I only get to kill 1, I want it to be that one, if they have fungal infection. I'm way better at Magic than I am at poker, and there's way more money in poker than there is in Magic. So I'm going to Surveyor and go get a land, but I'm not going to play the land. Some phrase, fool me once, fool me twice, something like that. But I am going to play Courser, because I'm not expecting a sweeper. I'm just trying to play around a Caligo Skin Witch, which we saw 2 of in game 1. Oh yeah, I mean I'm not even close to the best Magic Pro like at poker. Efro has like 2 World Series bracelets. Brock has like maybe he just got his third or 2 or 3 World Series bracelets. I mean, and we're not. Some of the best poker players in the world are Magic players. They're just not like big Magic pros, but like people like Scott Seaver and Justin Bonomo are like active Magic players. They're just not Magic pros. Okay, so let's see. So they have a 3-3, a 3-2, so I can pretty much attack with whatever I want with the Gideon's Reproach. Do I want to play card drawing pre-combat? Yeah, but probably Divination. This way I can have more mana to cast like a Blink and Reproach or something like that. Take the one less card. Because I already have a Reproach to cast. And if I cast Wait, the most I can do is cast Reproach. But if I cast Divination and I draw another 2-mana spell, I might have 2 tricks to use. That said, now I'm just going to attack with everything. I don't know what they can do. I don't think this can possibly go poorly for me. I don't know. I'm going to lift the Baird because I don't care about the Surveyor, and if they double block the Snapper, I'm going to get to Gideon's Reproach it. I just can't, like, this is not a game anymore. This is the point where I basically stop thinking. So, obviously, I don't care about the Surveyor, and I care a lot about the Courser, so we'll Reproach the 3-2, and the Shade can go ahead and eat the Surveyor. Who cares? We don't need no limit magic. We need the opposite of that. We need all limit magic. All limited magic. How did I do, LSV, if you're still out there? Just want to keep my bad pun game on point, in honor of one of the best Magic players of all time. Probably my pick for number 1, in all honesty, in raw skill, joining us tonight. In his honor, gotta have my pun game, my bad pun game especially, on point. That's right. I think he already knows how I feel about his puns. Alright, so let's see. Deep Freeze one of their big creatures. Attack with the Snapper and the Courser, giving it flying. Yep. We have 7 mana, which means we already have 8, so we can cast Wait and Freeze, which means we wait first in case we draw something better to cast. Not saying there's much, but you never know. Okay, I don't think that changes much. I think I'm just going to Deep Freeze the giant creature so that I'm not that scared. I'm not worried they'll play a flyer. Obviously, I have Blessed Light for that, and I don't really see a Mason Unicorn having much of an impact. So if they don't have removal, they're dead, because Courser lifting Snapper is lethal. Or life gain, I guess. Deep Freeze. As long as your deck's not aggressive at all, this is a good card. Like, you don't want to play Deep Freeze in, like, Blue-Red Wizards decks. It's not a good card in that deck. But in, like, Blue-Black Control, Blue-White Control, it's a pretty sweet card. Alright. Tough little 3-game match, but, and, we had a fine hand game, too, but they rolled us with some nice 5-4 and 5-5s, but we prevailed. Let's see who we got next. Looks like we have the Wizard. Wizard 138. Wizard Some Numbers, in honor of one of my longtime subscribers, Corey Some Numbers, my friend from DC. Let's see. It's funny because my handle in a lot of places is BenS8528, so I'm actually BenS Some Numbers also. But nobody really knows that, and I'm BenS MTG on here, so I can still make fun of Corey and some others. Just don't tell him. I don't think he's around. All right, let's see. Can I plead the 5th, Jorge? It is always like 100 degrees in Florida, Burnator. Hey, Wizard, leave the chat and go play me. I'm ready. I know you were waiting on me. They won before me. I don't know, Jorge. they've had different rules at different times for different things at different events, depending on who's running the tournament and what and whatever. I've done lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of three versus three drafts in my day. Lots and lots. Yeah, I'd probably say that, Bernader. That seems like a very accurate description of Florida. No, that's not weird at all. Abel Hoya. Like I root for my teams, like let's say the Miami Heat, but in general, when they're not in it, I'm rooting for the underdog too. Like I'm rooting for the Hawks. It's an awesome story if you're watching the NBA playoffs. You know, Trey in like his third year or something, and such like a young good squad. Like you know, nothing wrong with rooting for the underdog. I don't mind if you root against me. I'm not one of those people who views competition as some kind of life and death struggle. Like for me, it's like strategy analysis. You know, like we're playing a game. That said, I would like to play a game, so I need the wizard to show up. Well, even if you never won a playoff game, at least you had the best running back of all time, right? Loki's run. Comfortable enough, bankroll management, TT Shep. It's funny because like I'm a very risky player when I play cards and strategy games. Like I'm not risk averse at all. But in like with my like real money and like in real life and stuff, I'm pretty conservative with big financial decisions. Like obviously, look, I'm comfortable enough. I don't think about whether I'm gonna buy Starbucks today or not. But when it comes to actual like financial decisions, I'm quite conservative. Like because the thing is, I'm not one of those people who like wants to make as much money as I can before I die. I just want to like have a comfortable life. Like I don't really think like at the end of my life, I'm not gonna care whether I've made like 4 million or 2 million in lifetime revenues. Like I just want to have enough money to draft and eat pizza and have a safe place to live and so on. Um. So let's see. I don't know what to do about the wizard. Let me see if I can poke them. People think I'm kidding, but like I'm completely serious about the Magic retirement home. If Magic's still like a thing, like in like 20 or 30 years, like people think I'm kidding, I'm actually not. I can't imagine a better way to spend like years like 60 plus than just like living in a community where there's just like drafts in the hall and like, a bunch of Magic players live there. Obviously, it doesn't have to be all Magic players. Like we don't have to make our own. We could just all move to like the same place or just designate some place like, somewhere cheap and warm like Vegas or Florida or whatever. Stick around. If I make it to old age, I'm not kidding at all. At all. That's like exactly how I'd want to spend my like retirement years. Obviously, by that point, we might just do it in the Oasis or whatever. But like, if that's not like feasible or whatever, plus whatever, we're old. We're not gonna have that much responsibilities. Whatever. Just get together, hang out in the hall, put on the stream, watch the sharp young kids play the PT or whatever they call it at that point or whatever. Who knows? But be a good time. Speaking of a good time, also I need to play my opponent. That would also be a good time. All right, looks like the wizard is finally ready. Exactly, Slabby. Now you're getting the point. Thanks, McLovin. Appreciate the subscription. All right, I'm still going to draw. I don't know what my opponent has. I didn't see any of their match or their games or anything. Don't tell me. I appreciate the support. Battle box all day, every day. All right, let's see. For now, though, we got to get there one sweatsuit at a time, right? Not that I'm getting a little ahead of myself, and I don't even think my deck is anything special. I think if I draw well and the cards line up well, I can win. But has anybody won this twice yet? No, I couldn't do that, Burnator. I would do it, obviously, if the first day I had to draft AVR twice or something. But I would not draft AVR twice a day for a whole year to do it. That's just not worth it. I'm sorry, Chimfunks. I appreciate the support. I know you've been around, like, supporting my stream for a long time. I really do appreciate the resubscription. I might have been thinking and just missed it or something. Okay, so let's see. Looks like a pretty clear courser. I don't need to make a land to get a land in my hand badly. I already have land 4. And if I go Familiar turn 4, I can then play Surveyor turn 5 for only 2 mana, and then still have 3 to work with. At the moment is only a divination, but still nice to save a mana. I assume so. I mean, they asked me for my address. I haven't received the coffee yet, but it was only like 2 weeks ago. Okay, same deal. I don't really see any decisions here. I'm just going to play the Familiar. I'm going to trade it. I'm not going to, like, hold it to lower the cost of Surveyor now, but I want to put out the Familiar because I can trade it and then I can get it back for free with the Archaeologist. Don't get me wrong. If I lose this game, it's going to be because I get run over. But nonetheless, if I'm going to trade off a 4-drop, it's going to be the one that's then going to get recurred, not the one that doesn't get recurred. Might have to play first in this matchup. Looks like a tempo deck. I do have those reproaches. I mean, to be fair to me, I didn't draw them. Okay, so what can we do here? I need to double spell if I can. Courser's not very effective. Stops the assistant. The Knight of Nubenalia is going to trade with something. And then I have 3 left to work with. I don't have another land for next turn, so I might play the Surveyor over the Courser. Nah, it's still probably better to just play the Courser. Still stops the assistant. That's not nothing. Wizard drafting Wizards? How fitting. Yeah, Wizard's a really good archetype. Like I said, I think Thalids and Wizards are the 2 best archetypes that you can put together out of the commons in this format, like draft after draft. And so, unsurprisingly, my first round opponent had Thalids and my second round opponent had Wizards. I was looking for both of those archetypes as the draft started, but I felt like there's probably 2 different Wizards players in our pod, and mine was open. All right, I'm going to go all the way to 1. If they can kill me, I don't care. I'm not being a trick anyway. My back's to the wall. But it's not like I'm going to die on board. Like, I can play 2 things next turn. Okay, so we got ran over by a Tempo-y Wizards deck. I mean, we didn't draw reproaches, but their deck does have, like, multiple bounce and things like that. So against them, I do want to play first. I think what we're going to want to do is put in another land, and make sure we don't miss land drops, because that bounce is a lot more effective against opponents missing land drops. Still nothing to invoke. So, let's see. So the first card I want to put in is 1 more land, because I'm going to choose to play, and I don't want to miss land drops against bounce. Definitely want all my cheap cards. Now, this deck doesn't punish 1 toughness creatures, and they had a bunch of 3/2s, so we can bring in our 2/1. A 1/3 would match up. So here's the thing about sideboarding and limited, right? You see what your opponent has. 3/2, 3/2, 3/2, 2/2. 1/3 matches up really poorly against 3/2. Can't block it, can't attack into it. 2/1 matches up really well against 3/2. Trades up. And another, not a mountain, of course. Another cheap creature to maybe slow them down. And that's all I would consider. And then let's see if we have any bad cards against them. So weight isn't great against a deck like theirs. Dub is awful. Shouldn't need to dub these snappers. That's the worst card in my deck by a lot. Everything else is good. I'm not taking out any of the 2-mana cards for sure. So I think I'll take out weight. Maybe this Archaeologist. I only have 2 artifacts in the whole deck. Well, if I'm going to do that, actually, I can just take out the Familiar. And then I can put the weight back in. Which is good, because I'm on the play. I don't necessarily want to take out my powerful card drawing. Maybe for game 3 on the draw, I'll sub the weight back out and, like, the Familiar back in and the Archaeologist back in or something like that. Oh, yeah, Dub was the worst, Mr. Fancy Pants. That's the worst card in my deck against them. But weight is still, like, a way to win in the late game if they don't run me over. I think on the play, I want the weight in. I think on the draw, I'm going to probably just cut the weight and the land and board in the 2/4 drops. We could take out divination. I mean, on the play, it's still a pretty solid card. It's not that expensive, and I don't have a lot. Like I said, card drawing gets a lot worse in like multiples because then you just die with a bunch of extra cards in your hand against aggro decks. But I've got like the 1 divination, 1 weight, so I'm not exactly loaded with like expensive card drawing that doesn't hit the board. I mean, I've had decks in this format that played like 3 divinations, 2 weights, and like Soul Salvage is another version of that. Good card advantage that doesn't hit the board, but that's not really like what my deck does. So here I have a choice. The Drake is a better drop if I want to trade with the Trickster. But otherwise, I think I would rather hold it, because I might kick it. If I play the Surveyor this turn, next turn's the call. So I have a while to decide on kicking the Drake or not. If I don't play the Drake, though, I do take 1 a turn from the Assistant, theoretically forever. But then again, like, I have a Unicorn, I'm gaining 2. I think that's fine. I don't know if I'm going to kick it or not. I'm not sure yet. But if they have a slow hand and I can kick it, I probably will kick it. Not really sure if Islander Plains is better there, and I doubt it'll matter. Okay, I don't mind trading my 2/2 lifelink for their 2/2. It could get blanked by a bigger creature, and this ensures I get the 2 life. Yeah, I'm not going to play Reproach, but if they go for some kind of trick, then I'll blow them out with Reproach. But remember, we're not really afraid. If they Befuddle, I mean, it's not a huge blowout against Befuddle, but then I can just Reproach the Trickster, so the Befuddle goes away and my Unicorn still lives. We weren't scared at all of a trick. We just passed to them. If they pass, we get to trade in our 2 life. If they play a trick, we have our own trick. Oh, yeah, sure, Sped One. Sorry. Completely forgot. Okay. Attack and play Sphinx. I don't really see any decisions. I mean, if they have a counter, they have a counter. Whatever. I'm not, like, particularly attached to this card. 2 turns. I have a 4... From now, I have a 4/4 flyer. Pretty easy bottom both, I think. So remember, I still might draw land anyway. And yes, this is 7 if kicked. But now if I draw land, I can use 7 lands to kick this. If I draw spells, I can just cast anything I draw because I don't have another 7 mana card in my whole deck. So I'm in a position that every frequent limited player knows and loves. A land is a good draw, and a spell is a good draw. That's the position you dream of as a drafter, as a limited player. Am I familiar with their flyer? Yeah. Oh, I get it. It's a familiar, right? It's because it's like a 1/1 that like scries, but that's clever, Burnator. That's clever. Because it actually doesn't say familiar on it or anything. That's actually a reasonably acceptable joke, I think. Okay, again, lands to the bottom, spells to the top, no brainer. See, I respect that because it's at least somewhat clever. If you had said, like, is their flyer going to assist them in winning? I'd be like, we can read. We know the name is assistant. There's just nothing clever about that. That's like an LSV pun. Okay, let's see. So I can definitely attack. Any of these trades would be fine. I don't really see any decisions. I'm winning the race. Not going to just lead or approach. I'll just attack and they block and I'll pass. And if they want to trade, it's a trade up. If they take it, then I'm getting in damage and I'm already winning the race. And again, assuming there's no sweepers, then, I mean, I'm just going to play Drake here. I don't really know how we could lose this game. I mean, I know that Naban can be scary. I guess they could, like, double Journey Mage, but they already played 1, and I mean, I'm way ahead of the race. If they want to bounce the 2 expensive creatures, they're not killing the token. They want to, like, bounce the token and the 4/4 flyer. They still have to stop the 3/4. Basically, I'm just not afraid. They'll probably just Journey Mage me or something. and then concede. You have to think about how impactful the spell is. There's not really an exact answer to when you scry spells to the bottom. But if a card's going to do nothing, like if it's a 2-mana 2/2 that's not going to impact the board in any way, then you probably want to scry it to the bottom. It's not really much different than a land if it's not going to have an impact, right? Alright, so that'll get them through this turn. Other than that, whatever. I guess I could have considered blinking Naban in response, but they'd still get one Trickster tap, and they're not dying, and, like, who cares? I'd probably rather have Blink available just to save my good flyers from potential removal or something like that. Blue-red could steal wins out of nowhere sometimes, but they're not doing it with me at 18, with 3 blockers and 2 different 2-mana instants in hand I can play. They are not going to surprise lethal me here. Yeah, Fight with Fire, but even Fight with Fire, I don't know that that wins them this game. It's not lethal to me, and my creatures have a lot of toughness, and I save one, like Academy Drake with Blink or Sphinx with Blink. I mean, obviously that helps them turn the game. Then if after that they like Chronicler it back or something, then maybe they win. Okay, I don't care about that. I'll take my 1. So now, end of turn. I think it is time to use Blink, probably. Just because we're kind of in closeout mode now. For anybody who doesn't know what Bernader's talking about, FWF is Fight with Fire, one of the best uncommons in the set. I think Slimefoot's probably more powerful, but like it's so splashable, so good in so many decks. It's definitely in that tier 1 mythic uncommon kind of slot, although there is several of them in this format. In Bolus's Clutches, Slimefoot, and Fight with Fire just come to my head right off the top without thinking about it as like broken uncommons. Okay, I'm just going to attack with everything, pass to them. If they have enough to live, then we'll reproach the Scholar. If not, we don't have to show them a reproach. Oh, Icy's very good as well. Nice catch, yeah. Eldest Reborn and Tatyova. So Tatyova is kind of hard to cast. It's splashable and all that. Yes, it's that level if you're like a blue-green ramp deck, but like when there are a lot of decks you splash it into and it's like fine, but not on that level. Icy is absolutely on that level, especially pick 1, pack 1. That's a good call. Willu and Ixa. And Icy's colorless, so it might be the number 1 uncommon for pick 1, pack 1. But once I was red, I would certainly take Fight with Fire over Icy. Or once I was Thalids, I would certainly take Sapperling over Icy. But pick 1, pack 1, just like for the same reason Surveyor's the top common I'm hoping to open, Icy might be the top uncommon I'm hoping to open. Okay, so still no invoke targets. We just saw more 2/2s and 3/2s and stuff. So again, we just want creatures that line up reasonably well against that, which we have, but I think now that we're going to be on the draw, we want more bodies, maybe bring it down a little. Bring in like another couple 4-drops here. Where'd the familiar go? Oh, it's just artifacts back here. Because remember, the Archaeologist gets back dead artifacts, and then this is an artifact and all that. And then I think we're definitely going to take out weight. We're on the draw. We already have extra cards, and they're an aggro deck. And then I think I just take out a Plains, but I'm not 100%. I really don't want to miss land drops, but I did bring my curve down with the sideboarding. I boarded in, like, Relic Runner and, like, Trapper, and I boarded out, like, Weight. So, I mean, and, like, I don't even know, but... And a Dub, which is effectively a slow card because I'm not using it aggressively out of the stack. So I think it's right to go to 16. Hey, thanks for the subscription, Buy a Canary. Really appreciate the support. Oh, we're talking on commons right now, Invictus. Siege Gang could definitely be the best rare, or like Multani. There's a few contenders, but we were talking on commons with Fight with Fire and Icy and stuff. Okay, I think I keep this right. I've got 8 Plains and an Opt. That's 9 decent draws. And then I've got a Deep Freeze. But if I just draw all islands, like Deep Freeze, Familiar, and Cloud Reader, should unlock white. I mean, Baird's double white, so that's a little ugly. But if I draw 1 white, I have Reproach 2. That's a lot of time. I don't know. It's not a pretty hand. Yeah, I was talking on commons before. I mean... Siege Gang, Multani, those are the 2 that I think really stand out. I think there's another couple that are like tier 1, absolutely. But I think the debate is probably between Siege Gang and Multani. Multani's harder to deal with and more impactful, but costs an extra mana and does get answered cleanly by Blessed Light and one or two other cards. Syncopate. Well, I guess Syncopate's answering Siege Gang cleanly too, but it's not answering. Blessed Light doesn't answer Siege Gang cleanly. Yeah, I don't know. This is super close. Do I keep this or do I like mull this? This is like the closest hand. I can't cast anything, and I don't have that many blue cards that cost 2 or less, but I'm 1 land away. Like, I mean, unlock Reproach, Deep Freeze to slow them down. I think I'm going to mulligan because they're an aggro deck. If they were like a controlish deck, even in the dark, I think I would keep. But I think against a pressure deck, I'm going to mulligan. Plus, bounce is good against land light hands. Okay, so here, we're definitely going to put back one of the 2 effective 4-mana cards. The question is which. I think Archaeologist. We don't have either of our artifact creatures. I'm greedy, too. I mean, I would keep that against, like, a Saproling opponent or something. But, like, a landlight hand is bad against bounce spells, and we saw, like, 2 Journey Mages in a blink of an eye, and they're just an aggressive, pressure-oriented deck, so we really don't want to stumble against them. I don't have any poker content anywhere now. I'm just a grinder, and I like poker just fine, but I love Magic, so if I'm going to make any content or write or record or something, my mind is just like, do Magic, because, I mean, that's what I love, whereas poker's whatever. I mean, this is a great trade for me, so presumably they have something. I mean, we didn't see Befuddle. You know what they honestly might have that comes up in this format? I mean, it's rare, so it's probably not going to be the case, but they might have a second to Bond. Because, I mean, I guess they could have Run Amok, but, like, that's a good trade, in my opinion. Like, I would happily trade Knight for turn 3 and Run Amok. Pretty much the only thing I'm scared of is Befuddle. Next turn, I'm tapping out for a creature. The turn after that, I can tap out for Divination. I think I just block. No thought to holding up Reproach there, because they could always choose to just not attack, right? And then they strand my mana. Definitely playing Knight. It's just if you think they might have Befuddle here, you probably don't want to block. And if you think they don't have Befuddle in their deck, you 100% want to block. Like, I'm happy to trade this for Run Amok. But if they would have Befuddled, that's like Run Amok-ing, except they take 2 less and they draw a card or whatever. Yeah, I mean, they have an aggro deck, so I didn't think they would play Befuddle. And we also didn't see the, like, adolescent things that make you want, like, generic spells like that. So I went with the block thinking it was probably Run Amok. Okay, cool. I'm going to chill for now. I'd rather use 4 mana than 3, and next turn I can go Divination into Reproach up. This turn I can end a turn Blessed Light Naban or Blessed Light in response to them casting something or something like that. So that's going to tap it. If I bounce Naban in response, it's just going to tap 2 things. That's irrelevant because I don't have 2 things. So no real decisions here. If they attack with both, I get to Reproach Naban, which I'll be happy to use 2 mana instead of 4 for that. If they attack with only Journey Mage, then I'll just Reproach that. I don't think there's really much they could do here. I mean, I guess they could bounce their own Naban if they have like a blink or something. You know, or I rescues less played, but okay. Not really sure that's that good of a way to think about it, Burnator. You're not really trying to be up or down cards. You're trying to give yourself the highest chance to win. So it really just depends on the matchup and how well your deck hits land drop 3 and then turns extra lands into cards later. There's too many factors. There's not like a clean answer to that at all. Okay, I'm not really worried about anything at this point. The question is, do I kill Naban or Journey Mage? Because like I can't really bounce Journey Mage. And I have Blessed Light, so I think I just throw Trapper on Journey Mage and Blink on Naban. I mean, I'd rather kill Naban, but then I can't Blink Journey Mage or Trickster, right? So I guess, yeah, I don't really have a choice. This is, like, I can deal with Naban later. I have Blessed Light. Plus, they only have 2 cards in hand. They're probably not doubling much right now. Also, we saw, like, 2 Journey Mages, but, like, I'm probably not going to have 2 creatures out, like, soon. So if they want to hold the Journey Mage and not attack me, okay, but, like, doubling Journey Mage's bounce doesn't do anything if I only have 1 creature out, right? I think they have a counter. Looked like last turn they were debating or something, but then realized they couldn't sync maybe. I wouldn't be shocked at all if they had like a Syncopate in hand. Oh, I was like, I don't know what you're saying. I mean, yeah, it's kind of creepy, but it's just like a monster in a graveyard holding a weapon or something. Some kind of ghost demon monster or something. I guess those are all like eyeballs or something. I don't know. This is a good game three. I like this game. I don't know if we're going to win or lose. It's pretty close to a 50-50 game in my opinion, which is, again, why it's a good game three. Good times. Okay, I think I want to wait on the divination since I don't have anything to do after it. Like, right now, if I divination, I'm hoping to draw a 2-mana card. Next turn, I can play 2-mana cards or 3-mana cards. Think this is just a pretty easy Blessed Light on the Bond. Probably should have passed first, given them a chance to try and run amok for lethal. This is kind of sloppy. A lot of times I don't bother to do stuff like that because no one's going to run amok to take you from 12 to 9 or something. That's just, you know. But, like, in this case, it's exactly lethal. So if they have it, there's a very good chance they might have played it, not just passed to me. Which is why I guess you want to train yourself to do it all the time and not be loose and sloppy like me in my old age. That's all right, though. I'll still point it out to you so you can make your own choices. Okay, so this turn, we still can't double spell, so I think I'm going to go for divination because if I play familiar, they might just like bounce it or kill me. So it's just not going to be a very effective card. I guess I could play familiar and blink on kicked since I have divination. Actually, maybe I'm supposed to do that. If they go for run amok, I have the surprise blink on kicked. If they go for like get you journey mage, I can bounce the Nabon in response. Yeah, I think I like that. Play familiar because I still have blink up. Maybe that's enough disruption to get me to untap and divination one turn later. Maybe not. It's a pretty scary card. Not happy to see that. Potential closer here. Oh, I can stabilize. So if I play the Drake and they don't have anything, I chump and go to 1. I can't double spell with Snapper next turn, right? No, I can if I draw a land, and then I have Blink and Snapper. I have to Blink Trickster. I think this game's pretty over. I don't know if I can get out of this. I don't think that's going to do it. What can I draw? What am I... I know, I thought I was looking alright this game until they played the Snapper here. Even if they just played like a Get You Journey Mage and put me to 1 or something, I was prepared to be able to double spell potentially. But I don't think I can get out of this now. I mean, I understand, but I draw the next card next turn, like, right? So, like, I might want to bottom this now if there's any answers. I mean, there's probably not. I don't know what I can get for 3 mana to stop the Snapper. Skittering Surveyor would be a little bit better, not much of a difference. Macy Unicorn is actually a big draw if I hit that. If I bottom. Yeah, I don't know. I guess, I mean, we have Blink that can draw a card and stuff, so I think for now I'm going to top the Drake and play it and chump, but I think we've lost. They missed land drop, so I expect that they're just going to Academy Journey Mage here anyway, and should be game. And even if they don't have that stuff, I mean, they have to not play anything, not have interaction. I don't know how we can win this game. Yeah, Danitha would have been a good draw. Yeah, maybe I should have bottomed it. I forgot about Danitha. Unicorn or Danitha would have been substantially better draws. Then they can't send the Trickster, so it's actually more than 2 life. They send the Snapper, I chump and gain 2, and I finish at 5. If they send the Trickster, I can just block the Trickster. So yeah, I probably should have bottomed. I think you're right, Saul. I forgot about Danitha. With just Unicorn, I decided to top, but if you throw in Danitha too, now I have 2 cards I can hit, I think I bottom. Because if I draw the 2/2 lifelink there, it prevents them from sending the 2/2, so it's really like 4 life. And that could easily be the difference between me turning that game. So, I'm gonna play a few more games of Dominaria because they're pretty good. Can't stay on too much longer, but thanks everybody who tuned in. We went 1-1 tonight. Wanted to win it in Dominaria. It's one of my favorite formats. I have a Dominaria draft deck. Shows you how little I've been getting to play. I drafted sometime and I never really got to play out. So let me see if that deck looks sweet or not. What do we got here? That's Strixhaven. Definitely don't want to do that. What's going on? I must have arena modes on. This is one of the silliest things on this program. Let's make the formats hard to find and hide them. I don't really like to win like that, ministered by angels. I've lost enough games of my own to having, the emergency poops. I complain about, like, why we don't get, like, 1 2-minute timeout per match, like, a ton. Like, I think arena competitive play would be so much improved if you had 1 2-minute timeout to use, like, per game. So that, like, you could just, like, go to the bathroom or really deep tank on the most complicated situation. I know WotC probably doesn't want that because esports, like, they want us to go to the bathroom, but they probably don't want people to tank for 2 minutes. But if it's legitimately that good of a situation, where somebody's thinking and thinking and thinking, any good commentator should be able to fill that 2 minutes like 10 times over. Because it can be hard to do good commentary when the game is boring, right? Yeah, they're going to obviously cast their 4-drop here. They're going to obviously attack here, right? But if somebody's in the tank, that means you should be able to say what they're thinking about. And usually then you have, like, the reasons between the decision. So, like, when somebody's really in the tank, that I don't find it hard to commentate that at all. Usually I could talk for 30 minutes about what they just thought about for a minute. When I find it hard to commentate is when the game is boring and people don't need to think and they're just casting creature and attacking because it's obvious. Anyways, so I think this deck looks pretty sweet. Let's play some games. I drafted it off. I don't even know when. Like off stream, but 4 skin witches, so we shouldn't get run over. Looks pretty cool. This is a very normal looking Dom draft deck for me, just like the one you just saw. Only, like, I don't draft blue white very much control. I draft blue black control a lot, and you can see. I mean, you don't usually get 3 surveyors, but with the blessed lights, good removal, 2 freezes, 2 lights. Medium removal. I guess calling that good's a bit of a stretch, but then clutches is like removal 2 and Rona to get it back and all that. And 4 skin witches, so if they're trying to attack us, we play these as 2-mana 1/3s. If we get to the late game, you're not going to have a hand. I love Skin Witch too. It's not one of the best cards in the set, but it's one of my personal favorites. I love anything grindy. Like, for anybody who ever, like, saw my battle box or anything, like, all I put in were all these cards that are, like, 4 mana, like, 2/2 get something small or whatever. I just love anything grindy that gives people more resources. It's funny because I would have actually really liked Learn. I just think they missed on that mechanic. I don't understand. Like, maybe they didn't have that much time to test it, but, like, it seems pretty obvious to me that you need Learn cards that are, like, 1 color uncommons and good and stuff, so people are fighting over them, like, like the Containment Breach cycle, but, like, you need, like, more playable ones, and you need, like, you can't have, like, all these colorless ones that are just going every deck, or every game feels the same, like, I understand if you want to make, like, environmental sciences, but, like, expanded anatomy and an introduction to annihilation, like, those cards need to have, like, they should just cost, like, 1 color of mana, and you should have more, like, different Learn cards so the games feel more different and people have more to fight over. It seems like basically every game is the same in Strixhaven because everybody just plays some Learn card in color and gets the same card and casts the same card, and it's just really not that fun. Hey, thanks for resubscribing, TPO. Really appreciate it. Disappointed with the round 2 loss, but my deck wasn't that good, so I'm not super shocked. The black 4-drop, Whisper Blood Liturgist, something like that. So do we want the trade? Well, I think so, because we don't have sack our creature for profit effects or anything like that. They might not. And then definitely it's Surveyor and hit the land drop. Yeah, I think Strix could have been really good. Like I said, I think they messed up Learn. I think Learn was a good idea. I just think the implementation was bad. Like, Learn is the kind of mechanic I got excited about when I saw it. But, like, you just have all these, like, good colorless lessons that everybody drafts. Everybody, like, gets every game the same lessons. Like, it's already a 4 to 5 archetype format. Like, honestly, I really think they messed up Strixhaven. Like, I think there were some good ideas there. And, I mean, I'm not going to, like, it's been the least fun I've had playing Limited probably since Guilds of Ravnica or maybe even before. And I really think Learn had a lot of potential, and Magecraft's fine. And I really think they just didn't do a good job with Strixhaven, to be honest. And listen, I praise them a lot for Limited. I think Strixhaven's the first Limited set since Guilds of Ravnica that they've really messed up. But I just personally don't really like it. Well, Ikoria, they made like one or two mistakes that just really were big and ruined the whole format to a degree. But like, literally, Ikoria would have been good if Taptician was like an uncommon and like Zenith Flare didn't exist. Then Ikoria would have been fine, or to good actually. Okay, so let's see. Get the second blue, play the Surveyor. No real decision since we drew a tap land. Of course, we're gonna play the tap land so that we have access to 6 next turn, but we can't cast a 5-drop this turn even if we want to because we have to tap 3 mana to get non-tap land. So this turn is basically scripted. Yeah, totally agree, Jorge. This whole format is just basically versions of Teamer versus Silver Quill, which is just like, And then, like I said, like, everybody's learning for the same things. It's just really not very interesting, in my opinion. I enjoyed it fine for the first, like, 10 to 20 drafts. I just felt like it had, like, no replayability. Like, after I did, like, my 20th Strixhaven draft, I just, like, kept feeling like... It felt like standard, really. Like, when I would do my, like, 21st, 22nd, 23rd Strixhaven draft, it felt the same as standard, where, like, once you've played, like, 20 matches of standard, you've experienced everything you're going to experience. Like, all the decks do the same things. Like, they might do 2 or 3 different games, but, like, each deck and each matchup plays 2 really distinct games or 3 really distinct games versus each other. So once you've played like 20, 30 matches of the current standard format, you've basically experienced like everything you're going to experience except corner cases. Limited's normally not like that. Booster draft, you get a lot more replayability. Some decks have like, the access to these oncoms is rare, or the just didn't come out that aggressive, and even if it did, even if it looks the same, like sometimes your opponent has a good draw and you have a good draw and the game just goes late or whatever. There's a lot of like different games and improvising and limited, and usually, like I said, it feels that way, but Strixhaven really just didn't to me. It felt like almost like bad block constructed decks. Not necessarily in so much in the power level, more just in their consistency and like, doing the same thing on the same turns over and over and over again. Okay, anyways, Slimefoot's a huge problem. Can't really do anything about that at the moment. Looks like we just skin witched the last card out of their hand. We're not under pressure. How many answers do I have to a Slimefoot in this deck? 2 Blessed Light and Bolus Clutches. Oh, I got a Traxos in this one too. This is a sweet deck. 2 Deep Freezes, which is a pretty good answer to it if it shuts off activated abilities, which it does, right? Yeah. Okay, so I have a ton of answers, so hopefully I'll draw an answer to Slimefoot soon. We're splashing white for 2 Blessed Lights, and we have 3 Divination. And I only played this white Memorial just to have a backup white source, because... Oh, sorry, not Divination. We have 3 Skittering Surveyor, I meant. I have 1 Divination. But I have 3 Skittering Surveyor, so like 1 Plains gives me 4 white sources for 2 Blessed Lights. And I played this Memorial as a backup white source in case I mill it with Windgrace or something. Obviously, I'm not that concerned, because like I'm going to play Surveyor before Windgrace almost every time, because I have 3 Surveyors. But in the event that it does happen, it's nice to have 1 Plains in your deck, especially if you play long games, one white Memorial here, because I can, eventually find it since I have card drawing and all of that, and then get to play my white cards. Okay, I don't really see any decisions. Looks like, again, just play this. I'm going to play a Skin Witch too. I mean, I'll hold 1, but I don't really see a reason to hold 2 here. Actually, it matters because I can quad block the Ballast Gorger, which, while that looks kind of ugly, I'll trade 2 Skittering Surveyors for their 4/4. My army of 1/3s has to hold the ground while I start attacking with Windgrace. Slimefoot's a really powerful card. Every time they draw a spell, they cast it. Every time they draw land, they make 1/1s. So I'm not in a great position. But on board, I'm actually hitting them for 3 a turn, and I have the ground locked up. So if I can draw an answer to Slimefoot soon, I actually kind of like my chances a lot better than it looks just from glancing at the board right now. I still have a ton of life, so they're not going to like swarm me to death with 1/1s anytime soon. I don't have to take any more hits from the Ballast Gorger. Well, that's not an answer to Slimefoot, but it does greatly increase my clock. Yeah, the reason a card like Skid Witch is so good is because, against aggro, it comes down as an early blocker, and against the grinding control decks, they usually have cards in hand. Of course, your 2nd and 3rd Skin Witch are not going to perform that impressively. Skin Witch is a card that definitely gets a little bit worse with each copy you get, but it's still just a great card. And, I wasn't taking, like, the 3rd or 4th Skin Witch over better 2-drops, and I only have 5 2-drops in this deck. So, I think, like, clearly I'm going to play all 4. Now, if I had an opportunity to take a 2-drop that I might normally take Skin Witch over, like, let's say the 4th Skin Witch, maybe I should have took the other 2-drop, because they certainly get a little bit worse in multiples. After you make your opponent discard 2, they probably don't have any cards left. Okay, so let's see what's up. So, I like this. If they want to use a removal or something here, then they're not using it elsewhere. And then I don't think they're going to have anything for this 4/4. I think they're really just sending these because, you know, they'll drain and stuff. Oh, wait, actually? Wait, if they're going to send this many 1/1s, maybe I'll just take one more hit from the 4/4. I might have lied to you. I can, like, chump... I'm never going to put the Drake on the Gorger, obviously. But I can, like, trade the... I can chump the Gorger. Because I don't want to take a hit for 4 from the Gorger, because I might get drained out. Because, like, every Sapperling, if they attack with it, it deals me 1 if I take it, and it deals me 1 if I block it. So I definitely don't want to take any more hits from the Gorger. But what I can do is just chump the Gorger, and then go make a bunch of other blocks. And this looks pretty good. It's pretty safe. They only have 7 mana. They can't kick the thing that puts +1/+1 counters on everything. I mean, maybe they could have something to finish off the Drake or whatever. Maybe they don't. No, I'm definitely not going to take the hit from the Gorger. I'm lower than I look like. If I don't draw a removal for the Slimefoot, every single Sapperling they put in play is, like, pinging me for a point. If I block it, I take 1. If I don't block it, I take 1, right? So, like, I'm not taking any more hits from 4 for this Gorger, and they're gaining life, which prolongs the game, which means they get to do more drains. So, I'm not even though I have 7 points of flyers, I don't necessarily get to kill them that quickly, because every Sapperling they make basically does 1 to me and gains them 1. But, so I don't want to take any more hits from the Gorger there. But I decided that rather than quad block the Gorger, I could just, like, eat the rest of their stuff and chump the Gorger, and then I could, you know, block it next turn, which is the current plan. So let's see. They can't send Slimefoot or I'll be super happy. I have to prepare for blocks on the rest. If I use the Memorial and cast the Skin Witch, what do my blocks look like? I have 3, 4, 5, 6 power. That seems fine. I can, like, chump 1, 4, 4 and, like, triple or quad block another. Nothing gets through. Okay, I'm cool with that. I'm, like, very mad, Wolperd, that they didn't put MH2 on Arena. I really don't feel like firing it on Magic Online. But I think I'm going to the local store this Friday to do some MH2 drafts. So that should be cool. Any advice? I would say that Dom is way better than Innistrad Flavatog, and probably the best limited format since, like, the first Ravnica. Not counting stuff like Modern Masters, Modern Horizons, whatever. Obviously, you can compare them. It's just they're so different and stuff. So, and they're not, like, constricted by, like, you know, cards being in Standard, so. But, I mean, I think Modern Masters 1 was really, really good. I like that and Dom pretty close. Okay, let's see. So, they sent the 2 4/4s. Oops. I was thinking about how much I like Dom and forgot to make the 2 1/1s. That's not great. Oops. That was a pretty big oops. So the plan was to sack the Memorial, throw 1/1/1 on 1 4/4, and quad block the other. And then they would only be able to kill, like, 1/1/3 and a 1/1, and I would take 0. Now I have to choose between quad blocking and take 4, or chump blocking 2 different ones, which are both bad options. So I was supposed to be activating Memorial there. I apologize. You distracted me with my love of Dom. I blame you for that. I guess, actually, I'd rather kill the Guardian, probably. If they recur and replay it, I'd probably rather them bounce Compass again than make a 7/7, maybe. No, actually, at that point, I'll just be chumping anyway. Probably rather than make a 7/7. So after all that talk about not taking it for 4, now I'm doing it out of sloppiness. Good times. Oh, yeah, I still love Dom. I mean, to be fair, when you say the test of time, you're really making me feel old because it was 3 years ago, right? Like, I remember I drafted Dominaria at Worlds in 2018, and, like, in the beta, to get into the beta draft, the PTQ I won for the beta draft was Dominaria, and that was in, like, 2018. All right, that's a good draw. We're drafting, we're hanging out, life is good. When I can't draft anymore, that's when life is not good. What happened in Miami? Did something happen while I've been on stream? I don't know what you're talking about. Super recent? Like, oh, I didn't even hear about that somehow. I mean, I live near Miami. I don't live like, I live like an hour from Miami, but wow, yeah, I'll check it out as soon as I sign off. Wow, that sucks. I mean, so far it says somebody said only one dead. I mean, every death is sad, but you could obviously a building collapse could be a lot worse than that. 90 missing. Oh, okay, so there's a lot of people unaccounted for. Wow. Yeah, I'm gonna read all about it as soon as I get off. I can't believe I didn't hear about that all day today on the news. Um, but yeah, no, that's scary stuff. Yeah, I'll that's really sad and scary. I'll definitely be checking into it when I get off stream. Especially, somebody said one. Yeah, so, but I mean, 99 missing. A lot of those people are probably dead if it's a building collapse. Then that's when somebody said it happened yesterday and then said one dead. I assume that meant there was only a few unaccounted for. That's really obviously tragic. Um. Okay. Anyways, let's just go ahead and make the block. Can't put 2/1/1s. That would just be an extra creature dying. Yeah, right. No, I get it. This is the first time hearing about it. You're getting my like literal live like I didn't even know this happened until somebody just typed it. Until the mountain just typed it. Yeah, I actually live in South Florida, not very far from Miami. I mean, I don't live in Miami. I live in a suburb, but it would be a suburb of Fort Lauderdale, which is like the next major city, sort of. I mean, it's not a national level major city, but where everybody spring breaks. But no, yeah. So like that was the first I heard about it. So building collapse, one dead, and you said like this morning or last night. So I was like, okay, like obviously every death, that's human life. It's really sad, but you can do a lot worse than one with a building collapse. 99 missing means probably a lot of those 99 are dead. Like that is really serious and sad and tragic. But I mean, like, what are you gonna do? Just root for everybody and wish for the best. I mean, if I was like a fireman or something, I would consider heading down there. But obviously, I wouldn't even know what to do near a broken building. It's not I don't think they need help with draft picks. So all we can do is sit here and hope for everybody to as many survive as possible, and everything goes the best it can. Yeah, no, I'll be checking it out for sure. This is the first I've heard about it, so that's really sad. Yeah. So what TPO is pointing out is basically anytime you see Voltaic Servant, your alarm bells should go off for Traxos because it's just like a peanut butter and jelly kind of combo. Traxos, even if you have a lot of historic, can be hard to untap turn after turn, whereas Voltaic Servant untaps at every turn. In fact, it's kind of funny because I have that combo, and I probably wouldn't have played the Servant if not for the Traxos. A fifth 2-drop, I could kind of use it. Syncopate can be cast on turn 2, to stop their 2 or 3 mana card. So got like about 5 ways to spend my mana on turn 2, and Servant's a pretty weak card. So if not for the synergy with Traxos, I probably wouldn't have played it. Yeah, I like ran errands all morning and like went to the gym. I listened to a little bit of news when I went to the gym, but not really like. And even like I don't know if they how much they knew or what time it happened. I went to the gym pretty early today, so I actually don't know when it happened or whatever. But this is like the first I've heard about it, like I said, and that's kind of crazy. But I'll check. I will look into it after I get off, and hopefully hopefully as many people as possible are recovered and survive. And what can you really say? Um. So, I mean, with 4 lands to play on the play, I don't think I would mull. I think with 3 lands, there's no hand I would basically mull because I have 3 Skittering Surveyors, too. So, like, hopefully I'll draw either Islands or a Skittering Surveyor. Okay, so which one do we want to deep freeze? I think it would keep the +1/+1, lose the flying, and not be able to attack. Is that right? Is that how the layers work? Magic's so fancy. Like, I think if I put deep freeze on, get 2 lava runner, it becomes a 1/5 defender without flying. Definitely Slimefoot. That's not even close, Addy. Wings is a really powerful card when it's unanswered, but it's very easy to answer. Slimefoot is a powerful card when unanswered, and it's a 1-for-1 when answered, as opposed to a 2-for-1 when answered. Don't get me wrong, Unsera's Wings is a good card, but like I said, Slimefoot might be number 1 uncommon, or way up there, roughly tied with the other totally busted ones. So I'm going to deep freeze a flyer. The only question is which. They're both hitting for 2. Does it matter? Well, I can't block either, so first let me attack, because they probably won't block as a fungal infection. But then I think I'm just going to deep freeze this one. Partially, I want to see if it loses flying, which I think it does. Yeah, it does. Cool. Oh, yeah, very good point, Auden's Hex. Yeah, it's definitely the Lava Runner, because if they bounce that, the Arcane Flight falls off, and it basically does nothing to free it up. Whereas if they bounce the Drake, then they can play it back kicked. Good point, Auden's Hex. Human Wizard Wall. You are correct. It does not lose Wizard type. But Auden's Hex's point is still, like, that's still the salient one here. Like, there's 2 common bounce spells that are both auto plays in this format. Academy, Journey Mage, and Blink of an Eye are both excellent. And, like, if they literally want to bounce their Lava Runner to free it up, the Arcane Flight goes to the yard, so it's basically dead anyway. It's just a 2/2. If they bounce the Drake to free it up, then they can play it back as a 4/4 flyer, a much better card. So, Auden's Hex there definitely made the salient point. Okay, so can't really do much except Skin Witch. Doesn't really change anything on the ground, so I would play the Skin Witch to buy time with this hand if, like, it was going to block a 2/2. But this Skin Witch can already block the Arcanist. I can't block the Drake either way, so looks like we're just chilling now. Oh, Journey Mage does only bounce opponent's creatures. You're right, but still, your Blink of an Eye is still anything. So there's still one. But good point. Like, even if it doesn't change, like, the play and, like, all that, that's still obviously important. Okay, I guess I'm not going to trade yet. Probably going to have to soon. If I draw in Bolus Clutches, I mean, if I draw an island for Clutches, I could take Valduk. That might be sweet. I mean, they'll move the short sword, but I'll get a 3/1 every turn, thanks to the Clutches on it. If I draw Divination, can't really do anything. I think we're pretty dead now. Kind of a sad way to lose a game. If we had just drawn Island or Plains, probably would have been fine. So I'm at 6. So I'm at 6 from the Drake. My only profitable block would be basically on Arcanist. And then if I, like, chump, I take, what, 3, 5. So I'm still at 3 and not 2. So I have one more turn for the Drake. Well, they have a short sword, but I don't know. How can I even win? I guess if I switch these and I draw the island for Clutches, I can clutch the Valduk, but it's going to be tapped, so I'm not going to have a blocker on the ground. So I'm going to take, what, the Arcanist, the Drake, and then the sword, so that's 4. I'll be at 5. So I guess, actually, if they don't play anything and I draw an island, this block actually does give me the ability to win this game still. Because I go to 5 right now, and the next turn they can only deal me 4 if they don't play something. If I Bolus's Clutches the Valduk, and then they move the short sword onto one of these 2. So I guess I actually do want to sack the Skin Witch to stop the 3/1 for the extra 2 points. No, we lost round 2. Thanks for gifting out a sub, TPO. You see how precise that block was, though? If I had one more point of life, or one less point of life, it wouldn't make sense what I did. But, like, the point was, if I would have blocked the Arcanist instead of the 3/1, I take 2 more, and then I still have the 1/3 out. So that I go to exactly 3. If I draw the island, I can't clutch as the Valduk, because then they'll kill me from 3 with Drake's Shortsword. If I could go to 4, I would have another Skin Witch in play, and have it bounce with the Arcanist and go to 4, because then they still couldn't kill me in the air if I clutches the Drake. But my out to turn this game was clutches on the Valduk and then draw like a flyer or removal for the Drake. So like it became right to chump a 3/1 because it's already gonna die in a turn rather than bounce with the Arcanist, because literally the difference, I have to stay above 3 basically. Now, how am I still alive? I'm just dead, right? 2 blockers? I don't see it. Servant, I have 5 mana, right? What am I missing? Traxos costs 4, Servant costs 2, and Omnivore costs 4. I don't see how I play 2 things. I can only play 1 thing to my knowledge. But I think everything I said was right. If I would have drawn the island there, I can clutches the Valduk, go to 1. Then if I just draw like a plains, a flyer, removal spell, I can cast whatever, I can turn that game. I don't think I ever win that game by clutching the Drake, because the Valduk's just going to hit me for 4 and make 3/1 tramples every turn. So like the way I played it, I actually, if I draw an island that turn, they can put me to 1 but not 0. Then I just have to draw like a plains, a surveyor, a removal, or a flyer basically. Well, a surveyor might not work because Blessed Lake costs 5, but I'm not going to do another draft, but I'll finish this run probably. I mean, if it takes forever, maybe not. I don't really know for sure, Skits, but this looks like a sweet deck. So, and this gives you a good look at Dominaria. We'll play some nice long Esper games here. Yeah, I agree with that, Mr. Fancy Pants. I mean, it's not the only reason I use Untapped, because I like being able to look through my deck and not have to remember it. Although it's probably just making me lazy. I'm probably better off if I go back to memorizing my decks. Arena has rules for visually stacking their lands. I just assumed it used like a random generator or something. I'm kidding, to be clear. Obviously, it's programmed to do it in some way. I have no idea what. Well, this might be a short draft. I think my deck's sweet, but doesn't look like we can get reasonable land draws. Well, Windgrace gains life, so if I'm on my back foot, I probably don't want to discard that. Discard the card drawing, I guess. Because if I draw land, I play Surveyor, so I won't play Divination. Obviously, no choices. I'm a black-blue deck with a very light white splash, 2 Blessed Lights, 1 Plains, 1 White Memorial, 3 Skittering Surveyors. What's going on? Oh, I can't block. They played Tetsuko. Ouch. Alright, bad beat. So now I'm just dead, right? I literally can't block these 3 creatures, and I can't kill anything. I mean, I didn't have lands, right? Like, if I had, like, had land 3 and played Surveyor, then I could have Blessed Lighted Tetsuko that turn. Then it's just a good game. My cards were better than theirs. I was at, like, 5. So if I can remove the Tetsuko and I don't stumble, I mean, I'm probably at, like, 10 instead of 5 or something. It's just a good game. I could have blocked the Lava Runner, but I can't block the Overseer, so it's still 5. Tetsuko, Surveyor. If you're talking about the previous turn, yeah, but, I mean, I didn't chump it. Maybe I should have. But, I mean, at that point, I take 5 more down to 2, and I chumped. How am I winning? Okay, another perfect hand to lose with. 4 swamps. I don't know what the deal is, but 3 surveyors, plenty of islands in there. Even playing 2 plains, not 1, because I'm playing the White Memorial. So I don't know why my draws are like this, but you know, I guess I can't complain, right? I got first and second in the sweatsuit in my past 4 attempts, so finally actually ran good for a while. Not running well tonight, obviously, but it's all right. No, the fixing's fine, I think, because like you're supposed to be 2 with a splash. The cards are very splashable. You know, my mana's not like bad at all. Like I have 3 surveyors. I just keep getting bad mana draws, but I think my mana is like 7/7/2 plus the 3 surveyors, which is really 10/10/5, which is just awesome mana. Right, growth, the green fixer is really good too. The fixing's not like it is in Kaldheim or in Strixhaven, but the fixing's totally fine in the set for a normal 2 and a splash type draft format. I do think they missed on Navigator's Compass. I just think that's like a lame card. And I've said this for a while. I don't know why they didn't put Traveler's Amulet in this format instead. It would have synergy with triggering Historic, and it's a slow format, so the paying 2 wouldn't be that punishing. Traveler's Amulet would have been like perfect for this format, and Navigator's Compass is just basically an unplayable card. But that's one of the only complaints I have about Dominaria, and obviously that didn't ruin the format. Who cares about Navigator's Compass? So I was going to Surveyor for Plains, but now it's just Traxos, of course. If they literally don't have like a Fiery Intervention or something, they might just concede to this, because it's already untapped from the Servant. Next turn I'll attack, play the Surveyor, and untap it again, even if they kill the Servant. Oh, sure, I should have probably bluffed attack with the Servant, yeah. Because it does untap itself and everything. Yeah, environmental sciences is not the norm in terms of fixing. But, like, yeah, this format was fine on fixing. I do think Navigator's Compass was a miss, but other than that. I don't really see any decisions. Not really scared of anything here. What are they going to do? Block and play, like, a card or two to, like, bury their board to kill Traxos? Not saying that would be bad, just saying I have more to win with, and that would be fine by me. I'm going to try and hold the Surveyor because, like, it's a lot easier to kill Voltaic Servant than Traxos. So, like, if they kill Servant, I want this extra Historic card to untap it and hit for 7 in extra time. Well, that changes that. Now I have to go get the Plains to Blessed Light the Champion so that it doesn't trade with Traxos. I wouldn't play a Skin Witch here if I didn't have 2, but obviously I'm not planning to kick twice and take cards out of their hand when they're down to 1 card in hand here. Alright, I don't even think I need to make them block. If I just Blessed Light the Champion, they should just concede. Because, like, Traxos has to be blocked, and, like, it's trample, so, like, I don't know. This is, like, if they're not dead, they're going to 1 and they're losing all their creatures. Like, there's no way that if they block the Lava Runner on the Traxos, that's 4 points of trample right there, which puts them to 3, and they die to the Windgrace. So if there's any way they can live there, it involves, like, you know, the 4 or 5 chumping Traxos and, like, the other creature chumping my next biggest or something. That's a math is for blockers situation. I don't say that often. More often than not, I say no, math is for attackers too, but if you have a 7/7 trample and they have a 4/5 and a 2/3, you can send all your creatures. Not even like I have power cards, but finally a normal looking hand, right? Play a 2-drop, I have 5 of them, and then have fine mana and just cast my spells. No real decisions here. Of course, we're attacking, because if they have a trick, great. They can trade it for Servant. And then if they have nothing, it untaps itself to block anyway. Again, no decisions. Go get my splash, of course. Probably not in this deck. I mean, if you have like an aggressive deck with a decent amount of historic cards to untap it, sure. But I want my 4-drops to be able to block. If I didn't get the Servant, I'd have to count my historic cards. I don't know, and my win cons and stuff like that. This is actually, it's funny because I spend most of my Magic career explaining to people how win cons are like super overrated. They are, but this is a format where they actually matter a decent amount because you go through your whole decks. The removal is so good in this format that like And any experienced Dominaria player can tell you, like, plenty of games have been won and lost because they basically just answer all your good threats. Like, I'm not saying, like, over half of the control ramp mirrors go that way, but, like, 1 in 4, 1 in 5 games when you play, like, not including, like, Blue-Red Wizards or like the Cuneo Mono Red. But if you play like any sort of 2 controllish decks against each other, a lot of games you just keep drawing cards and killing each other's stuff, and the game really goes long. Okay, so obviously Thallid Omnivore can attack, nothing else can. So if they want to make me sack my little creatures to lose their Sphinx and the rest of their team, happy to do it. I appreciate whoever summoned Traxos. Somebody started talking about it when I drew Servant, so thank you for your service. I definitely appreciate you summoning it. Cuneo kind of developed this like super aggro mono red because like the cards look like junk, but they're there. There's like multiple 2-mana 2/2s that have like basically no abilities and stuff. And like look, if 3 people per pod were drafting red aggro decks, I do not believe the decks would be good. Cuneo may or may not tell you otherwise. But if everybody's going to be doing this like draft 3 divinations and the green growth with kicker and just trying to go over the top of each other, absolutely go under them with a mono red aggro with Keldon Overseers and the 2-2-mana 2/2s and Runamucks and so on. If people want to see who can be the slowest, 2-mana 2/2s can always become good again. Okay, let's see. So Traxos is attacking, still not the small ones. And then I'm just going to play Skin Witch. If I play like some big expensive creature, they can just tap and send it back to my hand. But, of course, Skin Witch interacts very positively, if anything, against that. Well, Blue-Red Wizards, like, messes up your... So, like, the main advantage, Ixo, is that you're going to have a low land count, and it's going to be all the same, right? Like, in your mono-red, you get to play, like, 15 mountains, 14 mountains, whatever. In your Blue-Red Wizards, you need to have islands and mountains right away. So, like, you can't just, like, the 7/7 or, like, 8/8 even is not nearly the mana base that, like, 15/0 is for an aggro deck, or 8/7 or whatever. And there's not really good duels. But obviously, if Blue-Red Wizards was wide open, or like clear, not even wide open, if Blue-Red Wizards is open, you shouldn't be drafting mono-red aggro in that seat. Probably never. But Blue-Red Wizards is often not open. Blue-Red Wizards is one of the most drafted archetypes. Like, I was looking for Blue-Red Wizards, and the cards just weren't there. Not because I was trying to force it, just because I was in a seat where I got some blue and red cards early in this draft, in the sweatsuit, if you remember. And then it just wasn't open. And then I lost to Blue-Red Wizards round 2. So there's probably two Blue-Red Wizards players in my pod, in addition to the other red decks and white decks. And at that point, red decks and blue decks. And at that point, you're not going to get, like, Adalez's 5th. You're going to have to open them. So at that point, you'd probably rather have the consistent mana base, right? Now, look, if you open your own Adalez card that's in play right now, or you feel like Wizards is open, then you probably shouldn't be mono-red. But if you feel like there's 2 other Wizards players at the table, maybe you just draft a low-to-the-ground mono-red if everybody's slow. Or Wizards. Where the mono red deck will suffer is if people are playing a lot of fungal infections, a lot of saprolings, things. If people are playing a lot of decks that are good at gumming up the board, that's when mono red will suffer. Okay, so now they can't tap anything, so we can play whatever we want. Probably just play the 4/4 Academy Drake, right? Even if they draw an instant or sorcery, this only pumps Wizards. Sphinx isn't a wizard, so Academy Drake can block everything. I can actually tap any creatures if I want them bounced. But I guess I don't really. They're probably not going to have cards in hand. This untap the Traxos. Oh, to prevent it getting bounced if I play the Surveyor. Yeah, I'm not sure if that was right. I can always just recast it. It's not like it getting bounced is a big deal. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that was right. Maybe this was pretty close. Because if I, like, put them to 1, that's cute, but then it still gets bounced, and they had enough blockers. The 4/4 flyer stops their attacks. I'm not really sure. Honestly, I think it would have been reasonable to untap the Traxos there and attack, or, like, not attack, and I think it would be reasonable to just play a 4/4 flyer. Probably right to just play the 4/4 flyer since they were empty-handed. Hey, Ari, you came back to join us? Okay, well, you're welcome. I mean, it's your house, too. Anything else? You have any advice? What should I draft? Tell me what to take. She's so talkative. It's funny because me and Rachel are both extremely talkative, so it's hard to get a word in our house in the living room between me, Rachel, and Ariel sometimes. Okay, so I want to play Windgrace because I don't want to accidentally die. If I do that, I only have, 3 left to work with? Yeah, so I can play Surveyor and Windgrace. I know the Traxos is more powerful when I'm not facing lethal, but, I gain 3 life, and if they don't answer it blocks Adalez. So, I mean, it basically the same 3 they're going to deal me with the Sphinx. I gain from the mill 3, and then I trade with Adalez. So next turn when I play Traxos, I'm under less pressure. Because I break even on life over this turn cycle, right? I take 3 from the Sphinx, I gain 3 from the Windgrace, and then the Windgrace trades with the Adalez. So instead of facing 5, I'm only facing 3 when I tap out for Traxos. So clearly no real decisions here. I can't attack. Actually, maybe I should have played Omnivore over Traxos. There was a decision. I'm playing pretty sloppy, I guess. With them at 6, Omnivore's a good attacker. Traxos a better attacker if I draw a land, even though the Omnivore could be bigger. I'd have to sack a ton of things and spend mana. But, I mean, not a land, a historic card. But I don't have a historic card to untap it, so the Omnivore would have probably been a better play than the Traxos last turn. That said, even though it looks like I could be pressuring them a lot more, every one of these flyers I put out makes it so much harder for them to steal a win, and I'm gaining 3. And, my cards are so powerful. It's not like I'm in a rush. The Traxos is going to untap sooner or later. The Omnivore is gigantic, etc., etc. So I think last turn I should have played Windgrace and Omnivore, probably, just because I can't even untap the Traxos. But not a big deal at all. Hey, thank you, Knowledge Sinkhole. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have played the Surveyor. No, the previous turn, though, I think the play was right. Because, again, I have so much more ammo than I need to win. I don't need to end the game quickly. I just need to make sure I don't accidentally die. You're looking at my life total now thinking I'm at 15. Remember, before I played these back-to-back Windgraces, I was at 9. So if I would have played, Traxos and held Surveyor, they could have hit me for 5 that turn, down to, 4, potentially. That's just not worth the risk. But it was a blatant mistake last turn, because I don't have any ways to untap Traxos, and I had 9 mana since I played the Surveyor, so I was able to play Windgrace and Omnivore, and certainly that was better than playing Windgrace and Traxos. So that was a mistake. But I stand by Surveyor and a Windgrace, just kind of letting the Traxos chill. Okay, so now, can't really do anything special. We'll just send Omnivore. Pretty soon we're going to be able to swarm, I think, with them at 6. But we probably need to eat a chump or 2. What's going on in the sweatsuit? Anybody who's in the finals yet? Are they in the finals yet? Do we know who's there? Looks like I see this. Semmelin's in the semis again. Semmelin is awesome. He might be the secret second best limited player in the world. Wizard who beat me is in the first being Kyle Rose, not me to be clear. Wizard who beat me is in the semis, and Hunter's in the semis. Oh, that's cool. I mean, I know Hunter finals week 1, but I don't know if he's made this deep in a while. That's sweet. And also Semmelin, like I said, always wins. Okay, so I don't know if anybody knows him in person or anything, or if he's been streaming limited for a long time. I mean, I'm not familiar with him. He might just be running hot or whatever, but I've seen him deep a lot. Yeah, this wasn't the block I expected. They really didn't want to trade their best threat for my 2 weakest creatures. That block just basically can't be correct. They have to block it, of course, but I would just throw a Sapperling in front of it. They have to win this game in the air, and they have to just chump Omnivore. They're not going to grind me out of creatures when I have out 2 Surveyors, Skin Witch, and a Servant. Another thing that shows you how little I've been playing. How late are we into June and I'm not even Diamond, let alone Mythic? To be fair, I have played on my phone a decent amount. Obviously, I can't stream from my phone. But when I tell you I'm never sitting at home playing on my desktop and that I'm always out doing stuff, that's why I haven't been streaming. You can see on my main account that I play on my desktop here, I have another account that I play on my phone. On my main account on my desktop here, I literally am like Platinum 1. I've barely gotten to play like this whole month. Hey, thanks, Synquinon. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I'm never going anywhere. I'm a Magic lifer. So I'll be able to stream more and less amounts at different times. But under no circumstances am I like quitting or something. Like the competitive scene, like I like, playing good games against the best players, leveling, going deep, my opponents knowing what my plays do, but that's never been my primary driver for Magic. They could cancel the Pro Tour completely, and like there are some pros you would never see again and some you'd see again. There's some of us who just love the game. Like if they canceled the Pro Tour and stuff, like LSV would still be cubing, I'd still be drafting the current format and trying to understand the archetypes as quick as I can. Like obviously competitive's great too, but I think that's like basically like the primary reason for some people and like not for others. And I can speak for myself. Like I will definitely be drafting every format as long as Magic's a good game and fun, as long as there's a better game for me to be drafting. Now, without the competitive scene, if another game comes out and it's better than Magic, like legitimately better, then all bets are off, right? Oh, a huge one, Burnator. I stopped feeling motivated to keep drafting Strixhaven because I just wasn't really enjoying it. Obviously, like, I have a lot of flexibility over my schedule and a lot of things I can do. So basically, when I'm faced with the choice of go play poker for more money or stream drafts, if I'm passionate about the format and I'm enjoying it, I'm going to probably choose stream drafts as much as I honestly can over playing poker, but I'm going to play enough poker, that I need to play. If I'm not enjoying the format, then I'm just like, forget it. I'll just go, I'll go work. I'll draft more next time when I'm liking the format more. Just invent Magic the Gathering 2. Listen, I heard, I don't know much about it yet. I haven't tried it yet. I'll probably get to over the weekend. But I think like BDM and SV invented a game or something like that. I mean, those guys are really, really smart and understand gaming really well. I mean, if WotC, wants to keep kind of doing a bunch of things with Magic that I think are really bad, maybe somebody will invent a better game. Who knows? I'm down to play whatever the best game is, and in my opinion, as of right now, that's Magic the Gathering. As long as it's Magic the Gathering, I'll be playing it. Somebody invent an actual better game with a better, with a good ecosystem and all of that, and the game is just more strategic and skill rewarding, I'm down. What's the hardest moving puzzle you can present me? That's what I'm interested in. As long as I've been like a gamer, it's been Magic, but if somebody legitimately tops it and the game gets popular, I'm in. And I know, like, Artifact tried that, I think, to be as complicated as possible, and I might have liked it better. I don't know. I played a few games of it. It seemed good, but it seemed fine. I didn't really know what I was doing. But, like, then that game failed. You got to make the game, like, user-friendly and strategic. Magic's really accomplished a lot. Like, people don't really, I think, pay enough respect to that. Because as you make it, I don't want the game to be so intricate it's not fun. I want the decisions to be so challenging that you're always going deep and don't know the right play. You know what I mean? Those two things are not the same, right? The goal is not to have to make 100 easy decisions a turn. The goal is to have such complex decisions with so many variables baked in that, like, there's a lot to analyze and gain skill from, and the contest is who can do it the best, knowing nobody does it optimally. And that's what I think Magic has achieved way better than any other game. But again, I don't own Hasbro stock. Like, produce a better game, and I'm all ears. Have I ever played any collectible card games that felt something like poker to play? No, not really. Like, I think all the strategy games feel a lot more similar to each other than poker. Like, chess feels a lot more similar to Magic than to poker to me. Because it's, like, not Magic and chess are strategic maneuvering games. Even though Magic's played with cards, just envision the Magic cards were chess pieces or the chess pieces were cards. Like, Magic cards are basically chess pieces, not, like, it's not a betting game. Right, and I agree. It's hard to make a fun game with intricacy as a primary goal. But the thing is, the difference between like intricate, let's say, like so many different things to keep track of, and depth of decision is what makes this hard, but really interesting and doable. Right, because you could have like a game like Magic where like you know all the cards and there isn't that much different things going on, and yet the decisions are incredibly complex. What we're looking for is not amount of things to keep track of every turn. What we're looking for is depth of decision. By we, I mean me. Everybody likes different things. But those of us who want the most complicated puzzle we can have or whatever, it's not that I want to have 48 things in play. It's that I want to not know that I'm making the right play every time. Otherwise, it's boring, right? Like, I would not still be playing Magic 27 years after I started if I knew every play I made was right, except for the rare once in a while when I made an obvious blunder. That's not an interesting game to me. The fact that I frequently have these decisions where I'm not sure which is the best play and which is the second best play because the game is so skillful and so hard, that's what makes it wonderful. Okay, so we're not going to counter that because we can't and it doesn't do anything. I have not tried Gwent, although actually my girlfriend Rachel has played a lot of it, and I think she likes it. I've never heard of that one, Ixa. Yeah, my opponents have been rather aggressive tonight, TPO. I'm not saying this attack is right or wrong. Like, obviously, Mono Red's the aggro deck, but, like, I'm way up in life, and I have the same amount I'm about to attack them back with, and Thallid Omnivore is going to be threatening lethal next turn. I'm definitely with you. My opponents have definitely made some aggressive attacks. I think there's pretty much a no-brainer. Even if they draw and resolve a good creature, I have Deep Freeze, but empty their hand now, and then we have Syncopate, so if they don't top deck something awesome this turn, the game should pretty much be over. It's funny because I was thinking about what I just said, and I realized like, I said like I'm a Magic lifer because I've been playing for 27 years now. I started like 1994. I started in sixth grade of 1994. I started in sixth grade in 1994. When I started sixth grade. So I don't know if I started Magic in like September or October of like 94. I know I took to it pretty quickly, and I had never heard of it in my elementary school in fifth grade earlier that year. So I assume I'll never quit. But, the thing is, if you don't get attached to the brand, it's really the game and the strategy. Let's say another game comes out in this space that's actually better and maybe is better supported or something. They're going to use a lot of similar concepts, right? Because like there's only so much different design space within the draw effects at random each turn, use them as skillfully as possible so you manage hidden information and like all your resources as well as possible. So, I mean, I wouldn't even necessarily think of that as quitting. What I should say is I will be a gamer. I will be a strategy gamer for life. I can definitely say that. Will it be Magic? It's been 27 years almost, and I haven't seen a game that I thought was as good as Magic or even particularly that close. But it seems like people have only really started trying even recently. They might have had some kind of 20-year patent or something. I don't know how any of that works. When did Hearthstone come out? Because it feels like Hearthstone is like too similar to Magic, except it didn't come out until like 20 years-ish. Right? It came out like 20 years-ish after Magic, right? Like in 2013 or so. So I don't really know how any of that stuff works. I don't know that much about the law. I wouldn't be shocked if people basically couldn't make things similar to Magic for 10 to 20 years, and then they were able to starting around like 2013 or something. But again, I don't really know any of the laws here. This is just pure deduction, not like I'm not everything I'm saying right now could be completely wrong, to be clear. Okay, let's see. So we're one land away from Skinwitch, and they have 4 cards in hand, so we want to hold that. We don't have anything to Rona, so we could play Rona, because we could start activating it. We're not under pressure, but we lose the ability, to exile a card right away. If I didn't have clutches in hand, I'd probably play the Rona. But given if I clutches something and they counter it, or just kill it, the clutches goes to the yard, and then I can Rona and get the clutches again, I don't think I want to play Rona. So basically, it's play Drake or not. I think the answer is yes. I don't need to wait for 7 to kick that. I've got a lot to spend my mana on, right? When I hit 6 lands, I've got Skin Witch, then clutches, then I can Rona back the clutches and all that, like I said. So I think we put out a 2/2 flyer. Just try and chill. If nothing else, it saves us a point a turn. Yeah, I mean, also to be fair, gaming has just grown so much over the past 20 to 30 years that it makes sense that more and more people are like trying to get into the strategy game, into the collectible card strategy game, like as it's more and more recent. Because gaming was just a lot bigger in 2020 than it was in like 2015, pandemic aside. Just everything I say about that time period is like right before the pandemic numbers. If I'm ever talking about sales or GDP or magic or growth or anything, because who knows what anything was in the middle of 2020. But basically, Magic was a lot bigger at the start of 2020 than at the start of 2015. Or gaming as a whole was a lot bigger in 2020 than in 2015, in 2015 than in 2010. Like, gaming has just been growing and growing and growing. So if I take Baird, I still can't attack now into the 3/4 flyer. So I think I take the 3/4 flyer. I know I can't attack with anything else, but it's the biggest flyer in play. Seems like a pretty clear choice. Like, I can take Pegasus Courser to lift something else, but that doesn't seem very good. I can take Baird. I still don't really have an attack. Yeah, I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do, though, Synquinon. Like, the incentives aren't good. Like, in my opinion, in order to make Magic bigger, they've made it worse. Now, it's still great, and they've done a decent job juggling that. While they may have completely messed up OP in their quest to make it both bigger and sustainable, they've done a good job with the game itself. But so, like, other games are trying to hit that balance of, like, fun to play, not too many different things to manage, hard, skillful decisions, variance enough that it's fun for the bad people and, like, newer players, but also that, like, it's skill rewarding enough that it's fun for good players. I mean, there's a lot of good concepts that are pointing in opposite directions when it comes to designing a strategy game to be as, like, popular as possible and successful as possible. And what I want is not I want max quality, not max quantity. So I don't, I have like a little, what I want from Magic overlaps greatly with what, like, Hasbro and Wizards want, but it's not the same North Star. They want biggest growth, most sales. They don't really care how skillful the game is. I want, like, the game to grow and sell. Like, if the game gets bigger, I'm happy about that. But my North Star is skill, like max skillful, not max sales. So, like, there's a heavy overlap in what, like, me, Hasbro, and Wizards want, but it's not the same. So I'm going to play Skin Witch here. I know by attacking they can attack back, but the Drake can block the Courser, so it's 3 for 2 anyway. And if they have a counter, so be it. Like, I have Rona and Bolus Clutches and all that. Obviously, them Blessed Lighting the Bolus Clutches was one of the worst things that could happen to me, because if they kill the creature or bounce the creature, the Clutches goes to the yard, and then I can Rona it. Now the Clutches is in exile, so I'm probably just going to have to run the Rona. That said, like, the board's pretty even. Ari, chill. I know I'm drafting your favorite set. Alright, let's see. Can't really attack. So even though we have comparable amounts of power and toughness out, I'm losing on board pretty bad because I can't attack. But if I kill, like, the Cloud Reader Sphinx or the Bard or whatever, like, if they're attacking with the Sphinx, then the only untapped creature that really stops me is the Bard. So if I draw removal for the Bard, I should just have an incredible alpha, and then it should be a good game again. So, really, I'm, like, one removal away from, like, potentially winning, but I'm losing on board. That said, I think I'm going to basically alpha now. The Bard can eat, like, a Death Bloom, and then I get a 1/1 behind. That doesn't even seem that bad for me. I'm gonna send these. I'm not gonna send the Drake, because then I'd have to pay another mana, which would make my Syncopate worse, and I kind of want it back to block the Courser and save a point. But basically, I just threw away like a 1-power creature for 8 damage, so that's obviously a good exchange. And if they would have blocked the Thallid, I would have just downgraded the Thallid into a 1/1 for like 6 damage, which would also be a good exchange. It's funny because it would have been worth attacking to deal the extra 2. If I didn't have Syncopate, I probably would have. But I didn't want my Syncopate to like get worse because I don't think I'm going to kill them in this turn. I think I had to draw something, which I did. Windgrace could potentially win me this game, but I don't know how many attackers I can do and cast Windgrace. So, do I pass or do I attack? I think I just pass, right? They have 7, so I can syncopate it. So for right now, I can only counter things that cost 6 or more. Ugh, that's kind of ugly. Maybe I was supposed to attack. How much damage could I deal them? They block Death Bloom. They take 4. They're at 5. And then the Drake has to chump. Yeah, it's not going to be lethal the following turn. So I think not attacking was probably right. I probably should have counted because it was another one of those precise close situations. But I don't think I could have lethaled them next turn. So, some rough mana draws. Most of the games I had decent mana draws. I won with this deck. This deck was pretty good. The Sweatsuit deck, I think, was pretty medium. I think this deck was substantially better than the Sweatsuit deck, which you would expect. Better drafters, right? Think this deck underperformed just a little bit, but what did we go, like 3-3 or 4-3? Oh, we got 5-3? Well, this deck was nothing special. I think it was pretty good with the 2 Blessed Lightnings and the Bolus Clutches and Traxos, but 5-3 is probably about right. 6-3, 7-2 would be nice. Thanks, everybody who tuned in. Sorry for the lack of streams. As I keep telling you, I promise I'm not going anywhere, but I do appreciate the support. Who should we raid? Who have y'all been watching? Who's streaming good limited content these days? Is the Sweatsuit final still going? I don't know if Lord Tupperware is alive or not. He's not alive in the Sweatsuit. Semmelin and Hunter Pence in the finals of the Sweatsuit, but I don't know if it's still going or not. Well, I'll just raid them if it's still going, but if it's finished, then I'll raid somebody else. Yeah, if Hunter and Semmelin are playing in the finals, I'm just going to raid them. But if it's already over, then I won't. That's what I'm checking. Oh, cool. It looks like they're starting right now. Okay, well, let's raid them. So if you want to watch the finals of the Sweatsuit, it's Hunter Pence, famous baseball player for those of you who aren't baseball fans, and Semmelin, who I think might have the literal best record in this Sweatsuit Invitationals if we were keeping track. I haven't been keeping track, just anecdotally, like, they're always deep. Thanks again to Hunter and Sped1 for organizing these. Really appreciate it. They've been awesome. Super sweet to have a nice weekly draft league. Hopefully this will continue to grow. Thanks to all of you who tune in week in and week out. Thanks to those who, are still following me and sticking around as I haven't been making a lot of content lately. Always appreciate the support. Who we rooting for in the finals, Semmelin or Hunter? I've actually had a pretty good month in this thing, at least, finally. So, the losses don't sting as bad.